welcome to States Day. All day we're going to be showcasing members of our state team, which took second place overall at our state tournament last weekend. We did a really good job, and we're really proud of all of our performers. Just keep in mind to be respectful to the as audience members, as we are filming these performances. So remember to turn off your cell phones and remain quiet throughout the entirety of all the performances. And also feel free to clap in between. They all worked really hard, and they like the encouragement. So other than that, please enjoy. So first up, we have Juliana Camerzel, who won second place in the state in the limited prep category of broadcasting. Juliana is given a packet of news articles, which she cuts and writes original transitions for, putting together a mock news broadcast. She will give a 1-minute opinion on a designated article as well, and all of this is prepared in just 30 minutes prior to giving the speech, which is exactly 5 minutes. So here is Juliana.
An earthquake shakes Nepal. Cybersecurity is connecting to the United States, and it's a bumpy road for Michigan. All of this and more coming up on WYOU, your news the way you want it. I'm Juliana Camerzel. Beginning in Nepal, aid reached a hilly district near the epicenter of Nepal's earthquake for the first time 4 days after the quake struck, and as the death toll from the disaster passed the 5,000 mark. But it will still take time for the food and other supplies to reach survivors in remote communities who have been cut off by landslides. Nearby, 5 cargo trucks filled with rice, cooking oil, and sugar stood on a grassy field, waiting for a helicopter to carry the supplies to remote quake-hit villages. Nepal is finally moving back on track, while 2 trains are not. 2 passenger trains collided south of Johannesburg, killing the conductor of one of the trains and injuring 241 people. The driver of one of the trains was declared dead at the scene. The trains were traveling on the same track from Pretoria to Johannesburg. The cause of the crash is not yet known. Now for your national news, cybersecurity is going viral. Attorney General Loretta Lynch assumes a portfolio that includes fighting terrorism, preventing cyber attacks, and dealing with police and race, issues strikingly similar to what she's dealt with as top federal prosecutor for much of New York City and its eastern suburbs. She inherits a Justice Department consumed by efforts to stop the flow of Islamic State recruits to Syria and prevent destructive computer crimes against American corporations. Fighting terrorism leads to progress, but fighting the police has the opposite effect. 15 police officers were injured during riots in Baltimore. 2 remain hospitalized, and the others have been released. Mayor Stephanie Rawlings Blake announced that the city will impose a mandatory curfew from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. to 5 a.m. daily, effective for 1 week. Chaos and violence erupted on the streets of Baltimore late Monday as protesters clashed with police. More than 24 people have been arrested. Driving into the Motor City, the road to better infrastructure is being paved. An elections expert is projecting that 1.5 million Michigan voters will turn out for the May 5th road funding special election on Proposal 1. That's less than 2.4 million in Michigan who voted in the Proposal A special election of 1994. This brings us from your news to my views, where I bring you my opinions on the issues most important to you. Please keep in mind the opinions expressed here do not necessarily reflect the views of WYOU News. Although voting is a right that we have fought for years to give to many American citizens who have been denied this in the past, we as a country do not use this right to its full potential. Less than 50% of our American citizens nationally vote on a regular basis, and just over half are voting as they were in 1994. The basis of a democracy is that we express our right to vote to get our opinions out and make sure that what we want is happening in our country. Many people feel very strongly about Proposal 1, whether they feel it is a good or a bad thing, and this voting opportunity is their way to get their opinions heard. Whether they like it or not, they should exercise their right to tell our governors and our legislators what exactly they want for our country. In order to get more people to vote, we can impose a tax cut for those who do vote and a tax increase for those who do not, in order to make them see that although it is not required, it is something they should be doing. We thank you for tuning back into my views. Back to your local news. One hotel is anything but hospitable. Genesee County Prosecutor David Layton has announced that he is seeking to padlock a Flint Township hotel where a Flint Township police officer was recently shot. Genesee District Judge David Goggins issued a temporary restraining order asking the hometown inn after Layton filed a complaint seeking to shut down the business. Goggins' order will prevent the hotel from taking in new lodgers or extending the stay of current residents until the courts have the opportunity to rule on Layton's complaint. Washtenaw must hit the books to decide what tuition rates to charge. After an intense discussion, the Washtenaw Community College Board of Trustees shot down a proposal by board member David DeVarty to freeze tuition rates for in-district students, instead passing a rate increase ranging from 1.1% to 4%, depending on the student's classification. For on-campus learning, in-district tuition increased 1.1% and 2% for out-of-district. Hitting a home run into the world of sports, Atlanta has to know exactly what Brooklyn is feeling right now, and that knowledge might be scary. A year ago, the Hawks were in the playoff upstarts, the nothing-to-lose number 8 seed, the Eastern Conference playoffs that gave number 1 Indiana all it wanted in the first round. Atlanta surprised plenty of onlookers by taking that series to 7 games before getting ousted. In the weather today, we can expect high temperatures of 74 and lows of 63. That is all the time we have on WYOU News for today. We hope we'll see you right back here again tomorrow. I'm Juliana Camerzell.
All right, next up we have Izzy Abbo, a senior in the category of poetry, who is a state qualifier. She will be performing a compilation of poems that discuss the topic of anxiety. So here is Izzy.
Nutritionist said, eat root vegetables. Said if I could get down 13 turnips a day, I would be grounded, rooted. The psychic told me my heart carries too much weight. Said for $20, she'd tell me what to do. I handed her the 20. She said, stop worrying, darling, you will find a good man soon. The doctor said an antipsychotic might help me forget what the trauma said. The trauma said, don't write this poem. Nobody wants to hear you cry about the grief inside your bones. My bones said, write the poem. Anxiety is a serious mental issue that can leave those affected feeling helpless and alone. But it is in the darkest times where we must remind ourselves that there are other people experiencing the same feelings as we are. In the poems The Nutritionist, Panic Button Collector, and Anxiety Group, various authors reflect on their experiences coping with anxiety. The last time I saw Niagara Falls, I couldn't take it. It was too much. I had to plug my ears to look at it and close my eyes to listen. Generally, I can't do all my senses at the same time. They are too much. Like, if you touch me without warning, whoever you are, it will take everything I have not to hate you. Imagine your hands are electrical sockets, and I am constantly aware that I am 70% water. It's not like I've not tried to build a dam. At 5 years old, I told my mother I have to stop going to birthday parties because every time I hear a balloon pop, I feel like I'm going to get murdered. Last year, a balloon popped on the stage where I was performing. I started crying in front of the whole crowd. I plugged my ears and kept repeating the word, loud, loud, loud. It was super sexy. Like when I asked the super cute barista 11 times, are you sure this is decaffeinated? Are you sure this is decaffeinated? Are you sure that yes? I drink decaffeinated and still jitter like a bug. I only ever wear a tie so that when I convince myself I'm choking, my senses have something they are certain they can blame. As a kid, I was so certain I would die the way of a meteor falling on my head. I would go whole weeks without looking at the sky because I didn't want to witness the coming of my own death. My mother started making lists of everything I thought would kill me in hopes that if I saw my fears, they would disappear. Bless her heart, but the first time I saw that list, I started filling a salad bowl with bleach and soaking my shoelaces overnight so that in the morning, when I ironed them, they would be so bright, I would be certain I had control over how much dark could break into my light. I honestly can't imagine how it would feel to walk into a room and not feel the roof collapsing on my no, I am not fine. Fine is the suckiest word. It never tells the truth. And more than anything I have ever been afraid of, I'm terrified of lies. How they sound by our tongues. How they never outlaw the inside. How did we get through high school without being taught that Dr. King spent 2 decades having panic attacks? Avoided windows. Jumped at thunder. I think we are all part run for your life. Part please like me. Part scared to say you're scared. Part say it anyway. You panic button collector, you clock of beautiful ticks, you run out the door if you need to. You flock to the front row of your own class. You feather everything until you know you can always shake the leaf on my family tree and know you belong. You belong here. Welcome to Anxiety Group, the kingdom of the sweaty palm and the jiggling leg, where the women wrap themselves uptight, where the men write nails to blood. We are the magnifiers of molehills, the princes of panic, the ambassadors of anguish. There is pride here. We lack the discipline of the eating disorder group, lack the self-righteousness of the grieving group, and we are not as fun as Procrastinators Anonymous. Nobody wants to be here. Me, I don't sleep. I can't sleep. I make insomnia look professional. Make your tossing and turning look like afternoon hiccups. The longest I've gone is 9 days, literally insane. Sleep deprivation is a form of torture, you know. I do this myself. Melatonin makes me sad, Benadryl is for amateurs. Hypnotics turn off the lights too quickly. And weed makes me crazy. Diazepam, lorazepam, romazepam, Prose. Clonopin is the only thing that works, and they're weaning me off it. So like a baby, forced to remove breast from mouth, take bottle instead. I got sent to Anxiety Group. And apparently we are all going to die, because while the girl to my left worries that the satellite will hit her, the woman to my right worries that it will hit a nuclear power plant, and then we're all screwed. My father says only rich people go to therapy. Poor people got shit to do. And yet, here I am, this lifeboat surrounded by 8 of the most beautiful, crazy people the world has ever seen. What if it's not just a mole? What if it's a flesh-eating virus? What if I fail at life? But what if it really is the rapture this time? What if they hit us again? What if I wake one morning to see planes scraping skies again? What if it's me this time? And I think, wow, it must be exhausting to want to live this much. Because you have to have a soul-crushing hope that things will be. To be this afraid.
During the Armenian Genocide, one of the most horrific events of the 20th century, up to 1.5 Armenians were persecuted at the hands of the Ottoman Empire. But in these staggering numbers, thousands of Armenians were able to seek solace in the United States and become asylum seekers. With this historical perspective and bringing it into a more modern perspective, we must ask ourselves the question, should Germany limit the number of asylum seekers it accepts? And the answer is simply no. First, we'll look at how Germany is in such an ideal location to accept many asylum seekers coming into Europe from northern African nations. Second, we'll look at how the sheer strength and size of Germany's economy and government prove enough for it to continue this difficult process. And finally, we'll examine how Germany needs to continue to set an example for other nations in the European Union and the United Kingdom in the hopes that many of these nations will soon, by the end of 2015, adopt the process of accepting these refugees. Let's look at the first reason as to why Germany should, in no way, shape, or form, limit its process of accepting asylum seekers from northern African nations. And this is because Germany is in such an ideal location to actually continue this initiative. In an article from the International Business Times dated April 25th of 2015, a majority of the world's potential refugees are coming from northern African nations as a result of the rise of influence in many Islamic extremist cells such as Boko Haram. With these cells growing in power in 2014 and 2015, many refugees have been traveling from northern African nations to southern ports in Italy, in Europe, and then moving up north into Germany, as Germany is basically the leader currently in the European Union in accepting asylum seekers from these North African nations. While hundreds have died in the process of traveling from Africa to Europe, thousands have also been able to seek solace in Germany. But even more significant about this, in an article from The Atlantic dated April 24th of 2015, the arrival of these refugees on the southern shores of Europe and then traveling up north into Germany further makes it more difficult for many of the extremist cells in Africa to actually track the movements of many of these refugees or asylum seekers. On top of this, Germany is also a Central European nation, meaning much of Western Europe forms a wall with Germany and much of the dangerous African nations that they have been trying to escape. This means that Germany is in such an ideal location to accept refugees and is a major reason as to why the process of accepting asylum seekers should not be limited. Let's look at a second reason as to why, by the end of 2015, Germany should not limit the amount of asylum seekers it accepts. And this is because of the sheer strength and size of Germany's economy and government, and how this alone proves enough for it to continue this difficult process. In an article from the Daily Mail dated April 24th of 2015, Germany accepted a staggering 173,070 asylum seekers from North African nations in 2014 alone. But this is quite significant simply because of the amount of influx in refugees that are trying to travel to Germany, simply because many Islamic extremist terrorist cells such as Boko Haram became so much more powerful, moving from 2013 into 2014. While this number alone proves that the German economy and government is so large and powerful enough to continue this very difficult process, it is also significant in an article reported from the New York Times on April 26 of 2015 that Germany is likely to lose a major burden on its economy that has been troubling Germany in the last few months, and this is Greece. While Germany has put so much effort into trying to fix Greece's economic woes with little result, it is likely that Greece is actually going to leave the European Union by the end of 2015. What this means is that Germany will now have less of an obligation to invest their time and money into trying to fix Greece, meaning it now has more assets and time allocated to continuing to refurbish its process of accepting asylum seekers, which is another reason as to why this process should not be limited by the end of 2015. Let's look at a final and very important reason as to why Germany should, again, not limit its process of accepting many North African refugees. And this is because Germany must continue to set an example for other nations in the European Union, as well as Britain, two areas that have not had much processes with accepting asylum seekers in the past. Again, the article from the Daily Mail reports that Germany accepted 173,070 asylum seekers from North African nations in the year of 2014 alone. But the article also reports how compared to this, the United Kingdom only accepted 31,260. The main idea of this is that it clearly goes against German Chancellor Angela Merkel's plan to distribute asylum seekers in our world based on the strength of a nation's economy and also the size of its general population. The economies of the United Kingdom and Germany are both very powerful and large, and as well as expansive in the international community, and the populations of each nation are roughly similar. And according to CIA.gov, the population of Germany is approximately 80 million, with that of the United Kingdom being approximately 64.1 million, meaning they are both very large, and while they may result in a slight discrepancy with fewer asylum seekers going to the United Kingdom instead of Germany based on the population, it still shows that both populations are very large, as well as the economies being very powerful, meaning the United Kingdom must continue to pull its weight in accepting North African refugees into their nation, something that would be lost if Germany were to limit this process by the end of 2015. On top of this, an article from Reuters dated April 26 of 2015 states that 5 nations in the European Union alone account for 75% of the entire region's intake of asylum seekers, with Germany obviously playing a major role in this, as they are basically the leader in European Union economics and in the process of accepting refugees. What this shows is that if Germany were to any way limit its system of accepting asylum seekers, it would have a negative impact on other powerful European Union economies who are at times interested in accepting this process. If they were to limit it now, it would mean other European nations would not accept it in the long run. Today, when asked the question, should Germany limit the number of asylum seekers it accepts, the answer is simply no, and this is for 3 main reasons. After looking at how Germany is in such an ideal location to continue the process, the sheer size and strength of its economy, and also how it must continue to set an example for other EU nations and the United Kingdom, it is clear to see that Germany must continue to be to North African nations what the United States was to Armenia during the Armenian Genocide. Thank you very much.
Following Jeremy, we have one of our 4 state champions, junior Michael Russo. He competed in the category of oratory and will be giving a persuasive speech on the student loan crisis. So, without further ado, we will have Michael.
Christmas has always been my favorite holiday. The time spent with family, exchanging of gifts, and my grandma's cooking make it truly one of the most wonderful times of the year. At some point on Christmas Day, the topic of conversation will invariably shift to my plans for the future. Where am I going to college? What am I going to study? And what do I want to be when I grow up? I should be thrilled to answer these questions, but the topic of college automatically turns my mind to something more concerning: eventual student loan debt. I'm not alone in this fear. In 2014, 40 million Americans owed money to banks in the form of student loan debt, totaling $1.2 trillion, more than the amount of credit card debt and auto loan debt combined. In order to better understand this problem that affects a staggering percentage of Americans, we will first take a look at the causes of the student loan debt crisis. Next, we will examine its disastrous effects on our society, before finally exploring some practical solutions. It seems as though student loan debt has always existed in some capacity, ever since students have gone to college. However, the situation with which we are dealing today is a result of several factors that have changed in recent years. A study conducted by Bloomberg Business in August of 2014 shows that since the 1970s, college tuition and fees have increased by 1,225%. To put this in perspective, let's say that I have to take out a student loan. As an average student, it would have taken me about 2.5 years to pay off my loans in the 1970s. Keeping other factors steady and adjusted for inflation, it would now take me 24.5 years to pay off my debt. That means that I will still be paying for my bachelor's degree until I am 47 years old. Unfortunately, the rising cost of going to college is not the only cause of this problem. In our society, we perceive having a college degree as practically a prerequisite for being successful. Financial journalist Felix Salmon explains that a degree is becoming more and more important in our society. While the cost of going to college is rising, the cost of not going to college is rising even faster. It seems that we are trapped behind our perception, faced with the choice of going to college and being indebted for decades, or not going to college and not being able to provide for ourselves. The third cause of the student loan debt crisis is the lack of jobs for college graduates. The Federal Reserve Bank of New York finds that only 27% of college graduates are employed in jobs related to their college major. The Washington Post attributes this trend to the over-education of our young people. Now they're too smart for the jobs they can find. Another component of this problem is the jobs that college graduates can find don't provide sufficiently for them to pay back their student loans. Surveys show that almost half of recent college graduates are employed in jobs that don't require any kind of higher education, jobs that consequently don't pay very well, and not nearly enough to pay back crushing amounts of student loan debt. Now that we've taken a look at the causes of the student loan debt crisis, let's examine its disastrous effects. The burden of student loan debt impacts almost all of college graduates, and in a variety of ways. One way is clearly demonstrated through decreasing home ownership trends. In the first quarter of 2014, Home ownership for Americans under 35 years old declined to the lowest rate in the history of the United States Census. Economic journalist Catherine Peralta cites huge amounts of student loan debt as one of the main causes of this housing dilemma. This results in the nickname the boomerang generation, the generation that starts off at home, goes off to college, and shortly returns back to live at home. So parents, if you love something, set it free. If it returns to you, it probably can't pay back its student loans. On a broader scale, student loan debt payments become the financial focus of an individual's life. When there's a monthly payment of $300 or more from student loans, it prevents graduates from spending money on non-necessities, resulting in lowered consumer demand. American Student Assistance, a nonprofit organization, surveyed college students in 2013 on the impacts of their student loans. According to one anonymous respondent, student loan debt weighs on every decision I make, from food shopping to where I choose to live, to how I spend my free time, and ultimately, what career I choose. Regrettably, the economic implications don't end there. In 2012, President Barack Obama called small businesses the backbone of our nation's economy. Unfortunately, the effects of student loan debt have reached small businesses as well. With an already tightened budget, college graduates are less willing to take a chance and start a business, especially one that doesn't guarantee a steady income. The CEO of Gallup, Jim Clifton, explains that small businesses are dying, and so is free enterprise. And when free enterprise dies, America dies with it. Perhaps the scariest effect of the problem of student loan debt is the idea of the quarter-life crisis for individuals in their 20s. This theory suggests that college graduates become so overwhelmed with the responsibilities of adulthood that they lose confidence, lose hope for the future, become depressed, and in some severe cases, commit suicide. In 2012, the Huffington Post published an article about Jason Yoder, an organic chemistry student at Illinois State University. After incurring $100,000 of student loan debt, Jason struggled to find a job in his field. After suffering for too long, Jason saw only one way out. He took this way out. He killed himself in his chemistry lab, a dark metaphor for the costs of going to college. Sadly, Jason's struggle is not unique. The National College Health Assessment finds that there is a direct correlation between high amounts of student loans and the 30% of college students that suffer from depression. The astounding amount of student loan debt faced by college graduates results in an entire generation of leaders that have the intellectual abilities to change the world, but lack the financial stability and self-confidence to do so. The very system that should be setting them up for success ends up being the primary cause of our failure. Clearly, the effects of student loan debt are dangerous and real. Let's explore some solutions. And we know there are as many solutions as people who have thought about the problem. But today, we'll consider some solutions we ourselves can implement without any government intervention. Arguably, one of the easiest ways to deal with student loan debt is a measure that we can take before we step into a college or university. Essentially, we should choose degree programs that balance both our passions as well as our financial well-being. And these choices don't have to be dream-crushing. Kipling or Personal Finance explains that broader and more versatile degrees do better in the job market. For example, if you're interested in a career in software design, consider a broader undergraduate degree in computer science. Computer science graduates are well-equipped to work in a variety of technological fields, including software design, and an average starting salary of $90,000 isn't a bad thing either. This next approach to combating student loan debt may seem counterintuitive: finding scholarships. We mainly think of scholarships as money awarded by colleges or universities as incentives for attending. While this is true, significant amounts of money are awarded each year by private corporations and local chapters of organizations. Private companies, foundations, and civic groups award $35 million annually, and it's fairly easy to win grants with the help of mobile apps like Scholly. These scholarships can range anywhere up to $50,000 and can make a substantial difference in the cost of going to college. Admittedly, the best solution to this problem is the most difficult. We must realize that the societal belief that everyone needs a four-year college degree in order to be successful is simply not the case. Whether we have bachelor's degrees or not is by no means the only factor in determining our success. Take, for example, the story of Justin Friend, highlighted in the Wall Street Journal from January 8th, 2015. Both of Justin's parents have PhDs and are lecturers at Texas A&M University. Instead of following in his parents' footsteps, Justin went to Texas State Technical College and earned a 2-year degree in welding. In his first year on the job, Justin made $130,000. According to his mother, Professor Catherine Vaughn, not everyone needs a 4-year college degree. It's not going to be easy to change the mindset of an entire society, but readjusting our view of college and its role in our lives will better prepare our young people for a brighter and more financially stable future. Now, I know what you're thinking. I forgot to include ideas like online education, President Obama's plan for community college, reduced government subsidies for student borrowers, and probably a lot of other solutions. And you're right. But the ideas that we talked about today were just some of the ones that we could implement ourselves without any government intervention. And these ideas point out perhaps the most important solution: getting involved. Make your voice heard at your school, your place of business, or with your elected representatives. Because when we become part of the conversation, real change happens. So today, we've taken a look at the causes of the student loan debt crisis, examined its disastrous effects on our society, and proposed some solutions. It's not going to be easy to fix this issue, and a solution isn't going to manifest itself in the blink of an eye. But the day when high school and college students can answer questions about their future confidently and without fear of debt, that will be a happy holiday indeed.
For our final performance this hour, we have a very different category, multiple. The following performance is Adam's Family, one of our 2 multiples, featuring freshman Ethan Dank, sophomore Pano Stravopoulos, and juniors Caitlin Emerson, Evan Brook, and directors Aaron Behe and Lily Oakes. Adam's Family had an amazing invitational season and semifinaled at the state tournament. Keep in mind that in this category, competitors cannot touch or look at each other, so it might be a little weird at first. Without further ado, we're going to have Adam's Family set up all their furniture, so bear with us. Thank you.
You have to see the world in shades of gray. You have to put some poison in your day.
When you're an Adam, that's right. When you're an Adam, special duty. When night out with the Adam, you're an Adam. One bite, you're obligated to the clan. It's family first and family last, and family by and by. Do when you're an Adam. Standard answers don't apply. Do when you're an Adam. You do what Adams do or die. The Addams Family. Look by Marshall Rickman and Rick Ellis. Music and lyrics by Andrew Litha. We have a problem.
His name is Lucas Beinecke, and I'm in love.
That's right, Loomis Lindsay Adams. That charming, irrepressible ball of malice has grown up and found love.
On Wednesday, I just want to lock up on a little white couch with picklins and an apple tree. I like the part about being locked up.
Gomez, look. Hey, Chihuahua flowers! Who would send something so tasteless?
The most goodylicious gift there is, more precious than gold, is the blessing that we call friendship, whether new or very old.
Goodylicious, who talks like
The
this?
Beineckes, Wednesday's friend Lucas and his parents. They're coming for dinner tonight.
But Lucas is a boy's name.
Darling, Wednesday's at that special age where there's only one thing on her mind.
Boys?
Homicide.
Oh, that's my little girl.
Mom, Dad, I shot dinner.
Oh, that's lovely, dear. Where did you find it?
Petting zoo. Daddy, I have something very important to tell you. Can you keep a secret?
If I didn't know any better, I would say it was an engagement ring.
Daddy, Lucas wants to marry me, and I think I want to marry him.
You think?
Well, we're who we are, and he's from Ohio.
Ohio! Oh, swing state! Oh, you're killing me. You're right, we must tell your mother. Come with me.
No, Daddy, please, she'll wrap the whole thing.
What? I've never kept anything from your mother.
Daddy, please. If you love me.
Okay, I promise I won't tell your mother.
Thank you, Daddy.
Wednesday's growing up. She'll be Thursday before you know it.
Wednesday and Lucas sitting in a tree. K-I-L-L-I-N-G. Oh boy, that was intense. Do it again, do it again.
Oh, Pugsley, I'm being pulled in a new direction.
Ah!
I think I'd like
That was good, that was good.
I think I'd like
Do it again, do it again.
I'm being pulled in a new direction. Go on, what do I do?
We have to cancel this dinner.
No! I mean...
After 25 years of marriage, if you can't do this one little thing for me, then I just don't know what.
Okay, family meeting about tonight.
Your mother and I were having second thoughts.
Daddy, I promised Lucas. And you know how much I hate to break a promise.
Yes, baby, but you have to understand.
Daddy, I'm your only daughter. If you can't do this one little thing for me, then I just don't know.
Maybe just a little dinner.
Thank you, Daddy.
Fine, dinner, drinks, and then the game.
Oh, God, please go back to the game.
But it's a family tradition.
Can we at least just all act normal?
Normal is an illusion, darling. What's normal for the spider is a calamity for the fly.
Okay, Lucas, give me the map.
Wait! I know where we are. It's where I first saw her. I was lost in the park, and all of a sudden an eagle dropped my feet with an arrow in it. And there she was, Wednesday with a bow and arrow.
This girl walks around with a bow and arrow.
It's all right, Dad. She has a permit.
Lucas.
Be patient with him, dear. A father should support his son, and Lucas is your only one.
Oh, look what you've done. She's rhyming. Again. We're gonna go back to the hotel and then...
No! One normal night, to be polite, to do the least you can. One normally.
Can you achieve a type of common man? You have to swear to me, as promised to the core. Don't get so to 6 o'clock, there go post at the door. On all the Adams ancestors who've ever walked aright. One normal night.
Well, look at this place.
Did they just move in?
No, this is how they live in New York. They spend all their money on rent, so they have to use boxes instead of furniture.
Hello? Anybody there? Alice, we're gonna a weird city.
Oh, Mal, be open to experience and welcome in the new. Reach deep in your surprise bag. There might be a gift for you.
Hey, my surprise bag is so full, I can hardly lift it. I don't think I can stand any more surprise.
You scared me. Mr. Malcolm Beinecke, I presume, and the lovely Mrs. Malcolm Beinecke. And you, sir, must be Lucas. Unless, of course, you are the father and you are the son, with a massive thyroid problem. I joke, I go far, I kid. But no matter, the night, she's young. Welcome to our extremely normal home. Gomez Florencia Adams at your service. Allow me to introduce to you my wife, the mother of my children, el amor de mi vida, Duchess of the kitchen, gymnast of the bedroom, Morticia!
Very pleased. Mr. Beinecke, Mrs. Beinecke, and you must be Lucas. What a lovely name. Thanks.
Well, it sure is normal in here. Pugsley looks up and smiles.
Why, look, everyone, it's Pugsley Adams, just returned from Bible study. Say hello, Pugsley.
Hello. Would you like to make a donation?
Of course, sweetheart. What are you collecting for?
Just put some money in the can and no one gets hurt.
And now for welcoming toast.
Oh, leave the door open. You hear?
Oh, not to worry, my friend. My daughter, she has a black belt in Taekwondo. He tries anything, she'll rip his throat out. Oh, to the children.
Excuse me, do you have a little girl's room?
Oh, we used to, but we let them all go.
I'll show you.
So, what about these crazy children? They seem very fond of each other, no?
I guess, but it's not like they're getting married.
Married? Ha! May I ask you something? You and I feel we understand each other. You feel this, yes?
No.
Come, Beinecke, let me show you the moat. Did you bring a bathing suit? Never mind, let's just be crazy.
What are those of our wedding vows?
We promise to tango at least 3 times a week.
For passion.
We promise to tell each other everything.
For truth.
Everything. You're still married.
More than ever.
Boy, it sure doesn't work that way in our house.
What type of a marriage is it where you keep secrets?
A long one.
So, what does a Lucas Beinecke become when he grows up?
Maybe a writer. Or a taxidermist.
Ah, where did you find him? I love him.
Romance.
Coming. Let's just tell your mother.
No, Daddy, you promised to be after dinner.
What are you 3 whispering about?
Oh, they can't.
No, but taxidermy. I am so sorry.
Gomez, what's going on?
Nothing. We were just talking.
That wasn't talking, that was conspiring. I'll be in my room until you're ready to share like a proper husband.
But Morticia mia.
What if they hate each other?
I don't know. What if they don't? Be like me. Look on the bright side.
You make me so crazy.
Maybe you two should get a room.
Pugsley.
I'll take care of this. Hey, it's the Pugster. What's up, little man?
You ever squeeze a frog so hard its guts come out of its mouth and it's dead?
No, you?
Why? Who's asking?
Okay, we are gonna go now. Sorry, Pugs. I'm with Lucas now.
the dark side. Prince Mary Poppins into Mary Sanderson. I don't understand your references. Wednesday will drink, and then she'll be herself again. Lucas will leave her be so she can torture me. Just like she always did.
Another magnificent feast, all thanks to my lovely lady, wife from whom I keep nothing.
Oh, thank you, dear. And now it's time for the game.
No, God, please, no, not to the game.
But it's a family tradition.
Huxley, could you just go away and die?
What kind of game? Full disclosure, everyone takes a sip from the sacred family chalice and confesses a secret they've never told anyone.
Loosely based on the Inquisition.
Now go, Miss, break the ice. My husband has something he needs to disclose.
Oh, no.
Stop now. The chalice. Da-da-da-da.
Full disclosure, it's a game that we play. Let your darkest secrets give you away. Face your demons and then happily say a plea. Disclosure.
With all these crazy happy people.
My full disclosure is in the form of a fairy tale. Once it was a man who had a beautiful wife and 2 beautiful children. A humble man, they say, yet within his breast beat the heart of a loyal and steadfast husband who treasured his wife and worshipped the ground she walked on. Mwah! And they all lived happily ever after. Full disclosure.
Oh, well, we'll just have to come back to know what will be Wednesday's turn. Wednesday, the chalice. Do the chalice, please.
One sip of acrimonium, and then she'll change. Boy, oh boy, her full disclosure's gonna be strange. No!
I think we'll be on our way.
No! We are in the middle of a game, so button your lip and sit down.
Alice, I think you better.
Remember how it used to be, Mel? When we were young and the future didn't exist? Whatever happened to that guy in the Grateful Dead t-shirt? Is he ever coming back? All is dark, all is dead. I feel so black inside my face.
Ooh, that's too dark even for us.
Okay, Adams, I've tried. You people are insane. So with your permission, we're gonna go back to the real America. I did not raise my son to be kidnapped by a bunch of left-wing Spanish weirdos. Full disclosure, Lucas, get your mother off the table.
If you're gonna act like a tool, you'll be sleeping in the shed.
You see, Wednesday, we should have just told her.
Told me what?
Lucas and Daddy love each other, and we're getting married.
What? That's what you kept from me?
No.
Secrets. Ha! We can't just run away and get married. You said it was important that everyone gets along.
And you said that didn't matter.
You know what I think? You don't really want to get married. You just said that to stick it to your mother.
Don't you psychoanalyze me, Lucas! That is a deep, dark hole, and you don't want to go there.
Let's just go back inside and make some rational decisions.
I don't want rational decisions. I want dangerous, impulsive, crazy decisions.
I can't be impulsive. I should think about it first.
I'm crazier than you, so say you love me too. From here on in, you're singing to my soul.
My soul. Humiliated, shamed, mortified.
But my sweet Wednesday, she wasn't sure about the boy, didn't want to worry.
Oh, so you didn't dare tell me because I'm such a terrible mother.
No, you're a wonderful mom.
I gave up my dreams for the sake of this family. And that's how it ends. Alone and forgotten in a tiny room, living off cat food and broken dreams. That's what happens to mothers. You lied to me.
I feel the urge to take you into my arms.
Not today.
Hate you, well. Wednesday.
Daddy, would you please just...
No! This is what comes from keeping secrets. If the 2 of you wanted to get married, you should have just went
There
and
isn't
done
going
it.
to be a marriage. He failed, and I hate him for it.
What?
I love him. Why doesn't he love me?
Well, you just said you hated him. Which one is it?
Both?
Ah. Well, now you've done it. You've had to go and grow up. So many memories. Wednesday, eating her first worm. Wednesday, setting fire to the Jehovah's Witnesses. Oh, I love it. But then I think, where is the time gone? And then I see this beautiful young woman she's become today. And I'm happy. Well, happy sad, just like when the matador put the sword in the bull and the bull said, "Nice job." I hate you.
How long have you been standing in the shadows?
My whole life.
Nice. You should be right. Have you met my daughter? This is Wednesday. It's the best thing that will ever happen to you. Don't screw it up.
I can't stand not being with you.
5 minutes ago you could.
I'd rather die than live without you.
You turned into an unfeeling, rigid, selfish control freak.
I wasn't always this way. I was happy-go-lucky once. What do I do?
Just remember how you felt the first time that you saw her.
Ellis? It's Mel. The old Mel.
The old Mel? With the guitar and the headband?
Yeah.
You were pretty crazy back then, you know that?
Yeah, I know.
I can't live with a man who keeps secrets.
Many years ago when you loved me and you wanted to marry me, we came to our father and he said, wonderful, let's go tell your mother. And you said, no, she'll wreck the whole thing.
Oh, that's different. My mother was judgmental and loved nothing more than stirring up trouble. Oh, God, I turned into my mother.
Isn't it wonderful?
You did that like a lawyer.
What I lack in depth, I make up for in shallow, you see.
Oh, this is Mom. I'm sorry for everything. Can we have your blessing?
Oh, yes. And may you have many children, and may they give you as much grief as you've given us.
Move toward the darkness. Don't avoid despair. Only at our weakest can we learn what's there. When you face your nightmares, and you'll know what's real. Move toward the darkness.
I wonder if you're flammable.
Enjoy. So our first performer today is one of our senior captains, Erica Schumann, who won the state championship in the limited preparation category of broadcasting. Basically, Erica is going to be given a packet of news articles, which she cuts, writes original transitions for, and then puts together into a mock news broadcast. So she also has to give a 1-minute opinion on a designated article, and all of this is going to be prepared 30 minutes prior to her giving the speech, which always has to be exactly 5 minutes. So enjoy.
Good morning, I'm Erica Schumann, and this is WATT News. Your headlines at High Voltage. In today's news, sectarian strife plagues the Gaza Strip, the Secret Service isn't too good at being discreet, and a local reporter finds herself on the other side of the headlines. But first, we shed light on humanitarian horrors in Syria. More than 20 international aid groups sharply criticized the United Nations Security Council, saying it has failed to implement 3 resolutions passed last year, seeking to boost humanitarian assistance to Syrian civilians caught in the country's brutal civil war. The 21 humanitarian and human rights organizations delivered a failing grade to world powers and the broader international community as Syria's uprising against President Bashar Assad entered its 5th year. Sharp criticism is also hindering progress in Gaza. Rivals Hamas and Fatah have traded some of the harshest accusations in months, raising fresh doubt about their ability to work together to rebuild areas of Gaza destroyed in last year's Israel-Hamas war. Hamas, which rules Gaza, claimed that the Fatah-run government in the West Bank ordered supporters to carry out several bombings in Gaza to create chaos. The rival factions are meant to be setting aside their differences for the sake of rebuilding Gaza. This brings us to the Pulse, where I channel my views on your news. Please note the upcoming opinions are not necessarily those of WATT or its affiliates. The internal strife Gaza faces severely hinders its ability to rebuild and operate a functioning government in a region already rocked by turmoil and violence. Thus, Hamas and Fatah should put aside their differences and work together to achieve a goal that they both hope for in the end. Especially as Gaza vies for its legitimacy, factional fighting won't help them. Just as they are fighting against Israel, they're also facing internal fighting as well. Solidarity is completely necessary in this case. Clearly, fierce disagreement over internal matters won't help Gaza's international status either. Furthermore, these two groups should put the needs of the Palestinian people before their own desires for power. Fatah members openly admitted to bombing its own territory, a reprehensible act, and thus Fatah should take responsibility for infrastructure and rebuilding projects here on out. This concludes the Pulse, surging into your national news. The Secret Service agents don't steer clear of controversy. The Homeland Security Department is investigating 2 senior Secret Service agents accused of crashing a car into a White House security barrier. Secret Service spokesman Robert Hoback said recently appointed Director Joseph Clancy has been briefed about the March 4th incident. Clancy has asked the Homeland Security Department's Inspector General's office to investigate the incident. The agency said the two agents have been reassigned to non-supervisory, non-operational jobs. Police in Ferguson also hit roadblocks. Two police officers standing guard outside the Ferguson, Missouri police station were shot in what St. Louis County Police Chief John Belmar called an ambush, spurring a manhunt for those responsible for targeting the line of officers. The shots rang out shortly after midnight at the end of a protest against the Ferguson Police Department. That department has been under fire since one of its officers, Darren Wilson, shot and killed black teen Michael Brown in August. Switching into your local news, a controversial interview has the Attorney General asking the questions. A Huffington Post reporter named Dana Liebelson has been slapped with 2 subpoenas from Michigan's Attorney General, seeking copies of notes and records relating to the interviews that she conducted. On March 5th, Liebelson said she was interviewing an inmate at the Michigan State Prison when she was pulled from the session by a representative from the Attorney General's office. She identified the representative as David Dwyer, a special agent with the office's criminal division. A local couple completes a record-breaking road trip. A Michigan couple has completed a quest to visit all 3,108 counties in the lower 48 states, closing out the task with their trip to Nantucket. Jennifer and Jonathan Reel completed their journey this week when they boarded a ferry to the island. The Reels of Hancock, Michigan have done it all in the same vehicle, accumulating over 540,000 miles. Slam dunking into your sports update, Tim Duncan had 21 points with 11 rebounds, and the San Antonio Spurs held on for a 111-107 win over the Los Angeles Clippers. Storming into your weather forecast, sunny skies with high temperatures expected throughout the week. That is all the time we have for today. Thank you for tuning in to WATT News. Your headlines at High Voltage. I'm Erica Schumann reporting, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow. Thank you.
Okay, next up we have junior Michelle Phillips, who earned 5th place at the state tournament this year in the category of prose. She'll be performing an interpretive presentation of a cutting from the novel Breaking Night.
I was born on the afternoon of September 23rd, 1980. As I grew up, Ma grew more laid back about keeping up with things. Chores were neglected and dirty dishes sat untouched for days in the kitchen sink. I wondered what starting school would be like. I mean, who else cursed freely in front of their parents, went to bed any time they wanted, and could demonstrate how to mainline drugs at just 6 years old? This is the true story of Elizabeth Murray, who grew up in poverty living in the Bronx. Influenced by a mother who was an alcoholic and addicted to hardcore drugs, Liz realizes that she has to break the cycle and make a better life for herself. Breaking Night by Elizabeth Murray. Ma and Daddy spent a lot of their time in the kitchen, getting high. Now look at you, starting school. I can't believe it, Pumpkin. Oh, you are going to do so well. Wait, did I give you a haircut? No. Do I need one? Pumpkin. Everyone gets new things on the first day of school. Ma, are you sure that's not too short, Ma? Oh, Pumpkin, it's all right, just... Shit. On top of the drugs, Ma was a schizophrenic. And I didn't like it when she got this way, reclusive, with a streak of meanness. There would be signs of an oncoming episode, like delusions. Once, she mistook the electric bill for the SSI check, and herself for Con Edison, and I made the mistake of addressing her as Ma then. I am not your mother. I'm Edison, you little bitch, and you're not getting any of my money, so you better back off. Her real check sat uncashed, hopelessly lodged in her pant pocket while the fridge remained empty for weeks. When I was 13 years old, child welfare finally took me into custody. When they came for me, I didn't put up a fight. But I do believe that my heart broke when Daddy didn't put up a fight either. That spring, I lived in a group home and managed to graduate junior high school with exactly enough attendance to avoid being taken back into the system. When I got home from the group home, Ma pleaded with me, Lizzie, don't ever get high, baby. It ruined my life. You'd break my heart if you ever got high. Don't ever get high. Never. Okay, baby? With dried blood splattered on her arm, Ma's eyes manic with concern, and her voice filled with love. It was probably the most compelling anti-drug message anyone could have given me. So I never got high. Not once. Sometime later, Ma called me over to her. Lizzie, Pumpkin, I'm sick. I have AIDS. Mom, are you going to die? Ma, you can't die. You can't go. Not right now, Pumpkin. I'll be here for a while. I know you'll always be here, Mom. And I will always be here for you too. But a few weeks later, when I was 16, Ma died. Daddy ended up in a shelter for his drug addiction, so I was out on the streets or on friends' couches or on the subway alone. When Ma was my age, she dropped out of school too. And like me, Ma made daily decisions between hallway or park, subway or rooftop, and I didn't want this to become my life. I knew I had to change something about it. In the coming weeks, I located and interviewed with as many alternative high schools as I could find. After several rejections, I could feel my resolve slipping. I had enough money in my pocket to do one of two things. I could afford the subway fare to the next interview, or take the train back to the Bronx and still afford some pizza. Pizza or interview. What if this next time, just this once, it turned out to be the school that let me in? The rapid changes I had experienced were hitting me hard, and yet sadness wasn't what came up in my gut. A different feeling snuck up in its place. Hope. If life could change for the worst, I thought, then maybe it could change for the better. I ditched the idea of pizza and went for the interview. I got in. I finished 4 years of high school in 2. I was homeless, but I still managed to finish with a high A average. My guidance counselor pointed me towards the New York Times College Scholarship. It asked for an essay describing any obstacles I may have had to overcome in my life in order to thrive academically. Seriously? I mean, really? It was so ridiculously perfect that I laughed. The New York Times called me in to do an interview, and I held nothing back. I told them about Ma and Daddy, about surviving off the generosity of friends and sleeping in stairwells. I told them about not eating every day. The room fell quiet. Liz, is there anything else you would like to tell us? Well, I need the scholarship. I just really need it. The following Friday, I was selected the winner of the New York Times scholarship. No one knows what is possible until you show up and do it. Not until your butt is in the chair, the application is submitted, the attempt is made. You don't know. No one knows. And that's what's kind of cool about life. That's what's so beautiful, is that every single day is another chance. Just after my mother died, I wrote this letter to her. Dear Ma, you and me, Ma, reminds me of how pearls are made. People see pearls as beautiful, perfect gems, but never realize that they actually come from pain, from something hard and dangerous, getting trapped inside an oyster where it doesn't belong. The oyster makes a pearl to protect itself, and Ma, that's what I've done. Oyster to our family's pain. Until pearls were born. Love, always. Lizzie.
Next up, we have another one of our senior captains, Maitri Anantharaman. Maitri had an amazing invitational season, a near-perfect season, and she also semifinaled at the state tournament. She is in the category of informative, where competitors perform a speech on any topic and use visual aids like the ones you see here. This year, Maitri's topic was anonymity, also known as the idea of remaining anonymous and much easier to pronounce. So, once they're all set up, Maitri will begin. Thank you.
In June of 2009, the Bristol City Museum in the United Kingdom hosted one of the most talked about exhibits in its history. The exhibit saw a line of visitors that went on for blocks, and critics clamoring to comment on the exhibit's eccentric installations. But something else was different about this art. No one knew who created it, only that he or she went by the name Banksy, and had, with the help of just a few museum officials, set up the entire exhibit in the middle of the night. Despite the fact that no one knows who he or she is, Banksy's work has become internationally known, and Banksy isn't alone. Every day, people choose to shed their identities and be anonymous. Today, let's discuss the power of anonymity. We'll begin by defining anonymity, we'll explore its role in our culture, explain the psychology behind anonymity, and finally, we'll take a look at its complex relationship with social media. Anonymity can simply be defined as the condition of being anonymous, or unidentified by name. It comes from the Greek word anonymia, which literally translates to nameless. Today, we'll also be talking about a common way to remain anonymous, using a pseudonym or a false name. Now, let's explore the role of the anonymous in our culture. Researcher Cole Stryker divides the motives behind the anonymous into three main categories. The first, he says, is to uphold modesty. Writers and artists often use anonymity as a nod to the importance of their subject beyond their own identity. Take the popular Christian hymn, Amazing Grace, first published in 1779. Its author, John Newton, initially published it anonymously because he didn't want the attention focused on himself, but rather on how sweet the sound was. And there are more examples of this in modern culture as well. Ever wonder why someone would donate millions of dollars to a museum or pay it forward anonymously? Researchers at the University College London found that most anonymous donors choose to remain so in order to keep the attention on helping others and on their cause instead of on their personal wealth. Stryker's second motive behind anonymity is countering sexism. You might have read or spark noted the novels Jane Eyre or Wuthering Heights in a high school English class. But what you might not know is that their authors, sisters Charlotte and Emily Bronte, initially published their work under male pseudonyms so that they could be taken more seriously. And this isn't just a Victorian-era practice. Author Joanne Rowling of the beloved Harry Potter series publishes her work under her initials, J.K., because her publishers told her initially that young boys weren't likely to purchase fantasy written by a woman. Stryker's third motive behind anonymity is avoiding persecution. Changemakers often use anonymity when coming out against corrupt governments or advocating for a controversial social issue. Thomas Paine published his popular pro-American independence pamphlet Common Sense anonymously, and later abolitionists, anti-monopolists, and pacifists all published writings anonymously to avoid social isolation or government persecution. In a 1958 landmark Supreme Court case, the Supreme Court held that the NAACP had no obligation to hand over its membership list to the state of Alabama, establishing a legal right to personal privacy even when it wasn't necessarily in the best interest of the state. Even today, anonymity has been instrumental in affecting political change. One prime example is a group of hackers who call themselves anonymous. These hackers use anonymity on internet message boards to align themselves with political protests and international movements. The group was a catalyst in the Occupy Wall Street movement and in the 2011 Tunisian Revolution. In 2012, Time magazine named Anonymous to its list of most influential people. Now that we've explored the role of the anonymous in our culture, let's take a look at the many ways in which anonymity influences human actions and behavior. Psychologist John Suhler connects anonymity to the disinhibition effect, the idea that once we shed our identity, the usual constraints on our behavior disappear as well. Suhler argues that as a person separates their in-person identity from their anonymous actions, they feel less vulnerable because they know whatever they do or say can't be held against them. And think about it, it makes sense. If you knew that you could do or say anything without being held accountable, wouldn't you be more likely to act out? Naturally, this has yielded some negative results. Communications professor Arthur Santana at the University of Houston analyzed 900 randomly chosen internet comments on news websites, half from sites which allowed anonymous comments and half from those which required named and registered comments. He found that on sites which allowed anonymous comments, 53% of commenters were uncivil, as opposed to just 29% of named and registered commenters. From this, Santana concluded that anonymity encouraged incivility. But anonymity may not be all bad. Sociologist Richard Crouch found that anonymity boosts one's sense of community identity and creative thinking. And further studies in student learning conducted by 2 Israeli psychologists found that problem-solving skills and risk-taking skills flourish more in anonymous settings than they do in face-to-face interactions. Now that we've explored the way anonymity influences human actions and behavior, let's take a look at modern society's most ubiquitous source, social media. Social media's rise can be partly credited to the fact that it allows for such easy anonymous use. In fact, a Pew Research study conducted in 2013 found that 1 in 4 internet users has published an anonymous comment. Some startups and apps are capitalizing on this liberation that anonymity allows. Apps such as Yik Yak, Whisper, Secret, and Gossip all allow individuals to communicate anonymously. These apps are built on the idea that anonymity frees people to say what they truly mean, to drop their public facades, and to tell the truth without fear of being judged. But on the other hand, these apps have been widely criticized by those who say they can be used for some not-so-noble purposes. And in certain school districts, incidents of bullying, hate speech, and abuse have led administrators to ban these apps from student phones. Interestingly, one of these apps, Yik Yak, has sought to police itself by establishing geofences at 90% of the nation's high schools. These virtual fences prohibit students from accessing the app on school grounds. Social media's relationship with anonymity is really a double-edged sword. In some cases, it can be a powerful tool for people to connect and share experiences, but on the other hand, it can be hurtful. Today, we've defined anonymity, we've explored its role in our culture, explained the psychology behind anonymity, and finally, we took a look at its complex relationship with social media. Anonymity is truly a powerful tool. It has helped to create some of the most important works in our culture and given a voice to those who might not otherwise get one. But gone unchecked, it can be dangerous. What's important is that we recognize this extreme power and understand that even those with no identity, like the artist Banksy, can make a world of a difference.
We're going to have junior Jenny Ruan, who is a state semifinalist in the category of poetry. Jenny will be giving an interpretive performance of a cutting from the poem Asian F. So, Jubilee, nice.
An Asian F means receiving anything besides a perfect score. An Asian F is less than 100, fewer than 100. I mean, it makes sense if you do the math. And if you're Asian, you understand, because you're good at math. See, I've been an Asian F all my life, and most people think it only applies to school. But truth is, I've been a fool when it comes to understanding how to be the perfect Asian. So at noon every day, all the other foreigners left together, and at noon every day, all the other Asians left together. And at noon every day, I stayed with all the white kids. I and many second-generation immigrants have faced the tensions surrounding our identities, whether it was me forcing myself to listen to rap music to be more American, or me forcing myself to use chopsticks to be more Asian. Whether small or significant, this conflict is very real. We see this in Asian F by Vita B. Kids always asked me why my last name wasn't Lee, or Chang, or Wong. And they always asked me why Asian last names in general were so difficult. When I counted the 10 letters in my last name, and I counted the 10 letters in our first president's last name, I wondered why no one thought Washington was too long to learn to spell or pronounce correctly. Can we call you Vita B instead? Teachers asked. And I said, sure, because apparently it was helpful for everyone else in the class to forget that I had a last name. Old home videos of me sitting in my daddy's lap. He asks me what I want to be when I grow up. And before I can respond, he says to the camera, she's my future doctor, future lawyer. For a second, push fast forward to some other home videos in which I'm wearing a blazer. But I'm not winning a case. I'm not even holding scalpels or razors. I'm the star anchor and news reporter at a news station. So I asked my dad if I can be a news reporter instead. He immediately says, no, and sends me to bed. Asians are not on TV. Well, what about Connie Chung? He laughs and says, she's an exception. And that night, I realized I could be an exception. In junior high, at lunch, all the other Asians sat together, but I sat like a little yellow koi fish in a sea of fish that are really white. The Asians would walk by and called me whitewashed and poser, and then when I got closer to the white kids, they called me their little Twinkie. At first, I thought it was a really weird way of calling me sweet. But then I realized they were calling me yellow on the outside and white on the inside, like I was defective or wrongly manufactured when I was made in China. I didn't know what the color of my insides were supposed to be. I thought everyone's insides were just red. I was always pretty good at science and math. So when they wanted answers to their homework, I was half their friend. But when we walked into Subway after school and the worker asked me if I wanted cat or dog in my sandwich, no one defended me. Instead, they asked me if I've ever tried it. Then when questioned about being racist, they claimed, no, they couldn't be racist because they had an Asian friend who they were proud enough to be seen with and take pictures with. Even though they asked me why I blinked in every photograph when my eyes were wide open. If an Asian F is an A minus, then I was Asian American, minus the Asian and minus the American. Truth is, being an Asian F meant that I was never fully 100% of a person. Was I white? Was I yellow? Some days I thought, to hell if I know. Because sometimes I thought the white man knew more about what it meant to be Asian than I did. Though I was born and raised in the United States, I will always be asked, so where are you from? When I respond, Minnesota, they will always reply, no, but where are you originally from? Growing up, I was so ashamed to be an Asian F. And the worst part was that I was ashamed to be the person my parents had fought so hard for me to be. See, my parents weren't immigrants. They were refugees. And as much as America didn't want foreigners, their home, their country, didn't want them either. Just like how neither the Asians nor the whites wanted me in my modern day America. See, my parents took the only low-paying jobs they could get, lived in a cramped and crumbling Minneapolis apartment room, and worked to go to work every day. and then to be told by the white man that they stole his American dream. At my grandparents' 55th anniversary, when I went to hug my grandma, she smiled and told me, "Go become the next president of the United States." I asked her if she thought I was smart enough to be president, and I wondered if she shared the public opinion that all Asians were undeniably smart, too. But she said, "Yes, because you are your mother and father's daughter, because you are my fourth granddaughter, because you have always made me proud." And that night, I remembered my grandparents were the Asian F. My parents were the Asian F. But the difference was that they were fighters, and I was a coward. For years, I enveloped this character of a victim because it was already written and easier to do than to write my own play. And every day, I was a failure for mistakenly believing that being a person was dependent on the shape of my eyes, the color of my skin, the number of letters in my name, or the origin I appeared to have to people who didn't matter. And that night, I was proud to be an Asian F and to have an Asian family whose history was strong, colorful, and thoroughly perfect. As an Asian F today, I have finally found peace and figured out what it means to be 100% proud of that as much as I am proud to be an American. And maybe my grandma's right. Maybe I could be the first Asian American president of the United States. After all, maybe it's no coincidence that there are just as many letters in Washington as there are in my Asian last name.
The next performer is Erin Dwyer, a senior who won 4th place at the state tournament and is also the top female extempore in the state as well. And she did that in the Extemporaneous category. In this category, competitors are given a question addressing current events and have just 30 minutes to put together a speech with credible sources that answer the question. So.
In the early 1990s, famous scientist and philosopher Edward Lorenz coined the term the butterfly effect, which we now know to be a part of the chaos theory. It was essentially describing the idea that a butterfly flapping its wings in Europe could cause a hurricane along the Gulf Coast. And despite its incredible importance in the scientific community, it's also incredibly relevant geopolitically. Recently, in Latin America, the country of Brazil experienced a widespread dengue fever outbreak, which has its neighboring countries making inquiries about their future with the disease. Today, I was asked the question, what impact will dengue outbreak in Sao Paulo, Brazil, have on public health in Latin America? To this question, I said, although neighboring countries in close proximity should have a large impact, this will be minimalized due to 3 main facets of thought. First, we will discuss the Brazilian water crisis. Then we will look at the sufficiency of the surrounding governments, and then we will look at why other countries will not be going about this fight alone, unlike Brazil. To begin, let's look at one of the most sincere reasons why this dengue fever outbreak happened in Brazil in the first place. According to a Wall Street Journal article from March 3rd of 2015, 73% of Sao Paulo residents do not have access to safe drinking waters in their homes. Because of this, according to a Yale University academic journal, residents have been hoarding water in makeshift buckets just outside of their homes. For this reason, mosquitoes have been flocking to well-populated areas within this region, causing many people to be infected at a high rate, unlike other regions in Brazil and the rest of Latin America. The reason why the impact of this disease will be minimalized for the rest of Latin America is because other countries in Latin America do not have these kinds of extenuating circumstances, unlike Brazil. Brazil is facing these circumstances under harsh conditions, so many of its residents are extremely vulnerable to this disease, unlike other countries within Latin America. Shifting gears, let's look at another reason why residents are also vulnerable, and that would be because of the governments within these countries. According to an Economist article from March 7th of 2015, Brazil has invested nearly $150 million into combating dengue fever in 2015. Although that may seem like an exorbitant amount of money, according to the same article, Paraguay, which hasn't even seen a dengue fever outbreak, has spent nearly $200 million on preventative measures. The Brazilian government has been considered almost neglectful to actively pursuing and mobilizing against dengue fever, unlike other countries. And according to a Rio Gringo article from March 19th of 2015, 87% of Brazilians reported being dissatisfied with public health care within Brazil. Within the country of Brazil, many of its citizens feel that the government is not being active enough in order to protect them from these diseases, such as dengue fever. So when we are discussing Brazil and the rest of the Latin American community, it's obviously that there are major differences that separate the two, making so that the impact in Brazil will not be widespread to the rest of Latin America. And finally, let's discuss one of the most important impacts, and that's the fact that the rest of Latin America will have support, unlike Brazil does. According to a Washington Post article from December 13th of 2014, it called Brazil the CDC's trial run for combating dengue fever. The CDC is on its toes right now because of the entire debacle with Ebola. According to the 2015 World Almanac, the first Ebola case happened in Uganda in 1974. Because of this notion, many people were asking the question, why could we not deal with Ebola in our country considering there were outbreaks happening in the 1970s? And that's because the government never expected for this disease to be transferred from the African continent to ours, so they never took those preventative measures. Then recently, in the past few years, our government has been put on the hot spot because we have been forced to directly deal with it, although we have not been prepared to do so. So when will they see a disease such as dengue fever prospering on the Latin American continent, especially Brazil, they are going to see this and begin to mobilize to make sure that they don't have another national crisis on their hand, similar to what they did with Ebola. So when we are discussing the differences between Brazil and the rest of Latin America in terms of how impactful this disease will be, it's currently just in Brazil. So the United States government may not be as concerned. However, if it does spread to those neighboring countries, you can bet that the United States government will offer a hand in its support to make sure not only does it not get transferred to the United States continent, but it also, the impact is minimalized across the world, so the United States can take those preventative measures. Today, we discussed the idea of the impactfulness of dengue fever in Brazil on the entire Latin American continent. We discussed how it is extremely minimalized for three main reasons. We looked at the impact of the Brazilian water crisis and how it is mostly human behavior in that country causing this disease to be widespread. And then we discussed how sufficient and effective the governments in Latin America are, and seeing why Brazil's government is incredibly ineffective. And finally, we discussed how the United States is involved and how their support can make a world of a difference. In conclusion, despite the relevance of Edward Lorenz's butterfly effect, it's evident because of these extenuating circumstances, dengue fever will not have a widespread impact, as theories say so. Thank you.
In a very different category is senior Andy Friedland, who is a state qualifier in dramatic interpretation, or DI. DI pieces can come from movies, plays, or anything with a script. Andy will be performing an interpretation of a cutting from the play Agnes of God.
Hello, my name is Dr. Livingston. I've been asked to talk to you. May I? Yes? Good. Now, Agnes, why don't you tell me the first thing that comes to mind? God. Oh, but there's not much you can say about God. All right, then what's the second thing that comes to mind? Love. Oh, I love God. Have you ever loved another human being? Have you ever loved another man, specifically? You're here to talk about the baby, aren't you? A newborn baby turns up dead in a wastepaper basket at a convent. The young mother, a nun named Agnes, has no recollection of the child or the pregnancy. Now it's up to Dr. Livingston, a court-ordered psychiatrist, and Mother Miriam to determine whether Agnes is a murderer or a miracle. Agnes of God by John Pallmeyer. Oh, I don't remember the baby. I think they made it up. Do you remember the night they say it came? Oh, yes, they say it came from the wastepaper basket. Do you remember where it came from before the wastepaper basket? From God, I suppose. Do you remember where it came from after God, before the wastepaper basket? Oh, I'm not sure I know what you mean. You want to talk about the baby. Oh, everyone wants to talk about the baby, but I can't talk about the baby because I never saw the baby, so I don't believe in the baby. So, what have you decided? Is she completely bananas or just slightly off-center? Or maybe she's completely sane and just a very good liar. What have you decided? I haven't yet. What about you, Mother Miriam? You've known her longer than I have. What do you think of her? I don't think she's crazy, nor do I think she's lying. I think she's an innocent. She has not been touched except by God. You see, her mother kept her home almost all of the time. She's never even read a book. If you think she's so innocent, how could she murder a child? She didn't. This is not murder. This is manslaughter. Agnes is innocent because she was not conscious at the time. You want me to believe that she somehow killed this baby in some mystical trance? I don't care what you believe. You are her psychiatrist, not her jury. All right, Agnes, why don't you tell me how you feel about babies? Oh, I don't like them. They frighten me. You see, babies, they have this soft spot on the top of their heads, and if you drop them so they land on it, they get stupid. I was dropped on that spot. You see, I don't understand things. That's why I talk to God. He doesn't frighten me. If I lived anywhere else, if I couldn't talk to God, I don't think I could sleep at night. You have trouble sleeping? Oh, yes, Mommy did too. Oh, but Mommy wasn't stupid. Oh, no, Mommy was very, very smart. She knew things nobody else did. Like the future. She knew one day I would enter the convent, and here I am. Did you ever think one day you'd become a mother yourself? Oh, no, I could never be a mother. Besides, I don't want a baby. Well, if you did want a baby, how would you go about getting one? Well, I suppose I'd adopt one from somebody who didn't want theirs. Well, Agnes, if they didn't want theirs, how did they get one in the first place? A mistake? Agnes, how did your mother get you? A mistake? Is that what she told you? A mistake. It was all a mistake. What, the child? Everything. Nuns don't have children. Agnes, no, don't touch me. No, I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to take God away from me. Oh, they should lock you up. They should lock up people like you. You hate us, don't you? Nuns, Catholicism then. What did we ever do to you? I don't hate you. I hate Catholicism. I don't hate Catholicism. I hate ignorance and stupidity. What did we ever do? Maybe we sold a few indulgences. Maybe you were 15 and you wanted a neck in the backseat of a car, but you couldn't because it was sin. It was not sex. It was a lot of things, but it was not sex. When I was in first grade, my best friend got hit by a cement truck on the way to school. And you know what the nuns told me when I got there? That it was because she forgot to say her morning prayers. I'm frightened. You have no reason to be frightened, Agnes. Now, why don't you tell me, can you relax? Close your eyes? I think so. Good. Now, close your eyes. When I count to 3 and snap my fingers, you'll wake up. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good. Now, Agnes, why don't you tell me why you're here?
Because I'm in trouble.
Yes. But what kind of trouble, Agnes?
Well, I had a baby.
Yes, you did. Good, Agnes. And how did you have that baby? Did you want to have that baby?
No. No, it came out of me. But I didn't want it to, no.
And what happened to the baby? Was anyone else there with you, Agnes?
Oh, I don't remember.
Yes, you do, Agnes. The baby was alive, wasn't it? It was alive, and Mother Miriam was there with you, wasn't she?
Yes, she was.
And what did she do? Agnes, what did Mother Miriam do?
She left. She left me alone with this little thing, and I just looked at it and thought, oh, this is a mistake. Oh, this is a mistake, but this is not Mommy's mistake, not Mommy's. This is my mistake. This is God's mistake. So I thought, I have to save her. I have to give her back to God.
Agnes, what did you do? I put her to sleep.
For our final performance this hour, please welcome to the stage Jubilee Jackson. Jubilee is a senior and is one of our state team's 4 state champions this year. She competed in the category of storytelling, where competitors perform children's stories. Jubilee will be presenting a cutting from the children's story, Goldie and the 3 Hares.
Papa Hare.
Mama Hare. And Baby Hare. Hi. We're all enjoying a quiet, peaceful, lovely day at home down their rabbit hole. Thump, bump, kaboom, kaboom, kaboom! Whew, that was not quiet, nor peaceful. Oh my gosh, like, get me out of here. And that was not lovely.
What was that?
Asked Papa.
It's a foot, cried Bunny. A big little foot that belongs to a big little girl who fell on our rabbit hole and landed splat right on our door stoop.
I said, like, get me out of here? Gosh! Man, I can't imagine why the 3 bears would ever chase sweet Goldilocks away from their home. Maybe because she's loud, obnoxious, and demanding. Everything is either too hard or too soft, but hopefully this tale is just right. Goldie and the 3 Hares by Margie Palatini.
What happened?
How did you get here? Who are you?
Questions, questions, questions. Can't you see this head of hair? I'm Goldilocks, duh. I was chased through the woods by 3 angry bears, and then I fell down your rabbit hole. Let me tell you, that first step is a Lulu. And now, my little foot is big and swollen, and I can't get out. Papa, Mama, and Baby watched this foot grow bigger by the minute, so they decided to help you-know-who into their home. The 3 Hares huffed, and they puffed, and they carried her to Papa Hare's chair. Wait, stop. This chair looks way too hard. Seriously? They huffed, and they puffed. Oh, she's kind of fat. And they carried her to Mama Hare's chair. Wait, hold up. this chair looks way too soft. And don't touch my hair again, okay? They hopped and they puffed and they don't even think about it. I'll take the couch. Which she did, with both feet up on the cushions. Just right. Not really. You see, Mama didn't allow shoes on the sofa, but there she sat, all settled in, big shoe and all. So with the big little girl all comfy and cozy on the sofa, Baby sat down to read a book. Mama picked up her knitting, and Papa went to fix that Lulu of a first step. Hey, I need a pillow here, like now. And remember, not too hard, not too soft, just right. And get one for my footsie. And with Goldie even more settled in, Baby kept reading. Mama kept knitting. And Papa kept fixing that darn Lulu of a first step. Aren't we forgetting something here? Like, IDK a blanket feels like Michigan. See, blankets, ooh, too scratchy. Ow, too itchy. Too big, too little, too hard. Way too ugly. Ew. You see, I actually prefer cashmere. Is that like a problem? No? Okay, didn't think so. Now, where is that darn remote? Oh, don't tell me you guys don't have cable. Gasp. You, baby bunny ears. Yes, you, cutie. Hi. Go stand on top of that television so I can get a better picture. Oh, dear. I don't think my little bunny could stand on top of that television for very long. Luckily for the hares, the TV program was so boring that Goldie fell sound asleep. Shh. Me, Louis Vuitton. Me, Prada. Yeah. Papa had a marvelous plan. Well, when you know who wakes up, she's gonna be hungry. We're rabbits. All we eat are vegetables. Kids hate vegetables. She'll be running for the door before we know it. Sure enough, when Goldie awoke, her tummy was growling. Ooh, excuse me. I'm starving. Bring on the snacks. Mama carried in a cup of carrot juice, 2 spinach pies, and 5 steamed Brussels sprouts. Ugh, Goldie picked one up. I love veggies. Toss me some arugula. Ricka, hold up. Goldie not only had all their pillows, best blankets, her shoe up on Mama's sofa, but now she was eating all the vegetables they had, like she owned the place. Now what? Mama had a dandy idea. How about we invite the neighbors over for a visit? With the hair house being so small, the neighbors being so many, and you know who being so large and disgusting, certainly she wouldn't want to stay there, right? Right? Company, ooh, I love parties, yay! Everybody dance now. Boom, 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 boom. Hey! Sprinkler, watch out! This called for desperate measures. And by desperate measures, folks, I mean time to bring in Sherman the skunk. No one cleared a room quite like he did. Everyone made a quick beeline for the door, except for, well, Goldie. This stinks! My eyes, they burn! I don't understand this crazy girl. The stench is horrific. I think I caught a cold from this drafty, rabbit hole, so I'm just gonna find a bed and I'm gonna stay there, like, forever. Ow, my foot. Uh-oh. Baby saw Goldilocks eyeing his just right bed. This is it. I've had it. I'm calling the bears. Oh, yes. Hello. The bears, well, you see, they kind of hate me, so gotta go. Bye, stupid rabbits. So the big little girl with the big swollen foot limped out of the hare house without even a achoo, ran up the rabbit hole, past that Lulu up a first step, and the three hares went back to enjoying a quiet, peaceful, lovely day at home down there. Oh no, I knew it. It's another
Joy. Our first performer is sophomore Julia Eisenstadt. Julia had an amazing invitational season and semifinaled at the state tournament. She is in the category of informative, where competitors perform a speech on any topic, use visual aids like the ones you see here as well. This year, Julia's topic was sitcoms, so sit back, relax, and enjoy.
In my family, a day doesn't go by where a Seinfeld reference isn't made. Dinner at a restaurant is never complete without my dad insisting that we get the swordfish. And there's no comeback that will ever be better than saying, well, the jerk store called and they're running out of you. Yada, yada, yada. But Seinfeld is just one of the iconic sitcoms that have had its viewers laughing and singing along to its catchy theme songs for years. Today, let's take a look at what a sitcom is and the reasons behind their mass popularity. Then let's change the channel and see how sitcoms have evolved throughout the decades. And finally, let's see how sitcoms go beyond the screen of your television by how they influence society. First, let's go behind the scenes and find out what a sitcom is. Situational comedies, or sitcoms, are television shows where recurring characters share the same environment, such as a home or a workplace, and are involved in humorous situations. There are many features that can characterize a sitcom, such as only having a few main characters and lasting 30 minutes. However, one of the most recognizable characteristics is the laugh track. Although these laughs may not be authentic, according to an NBC article, they help to encourage us to chuckle and enjoy ourselves more. In addition to laugh tracks, sitcoms are also characterized by their running gags or jokes. These are jokes that reoccur in multiple episodes and under some circumstances can be anticipated by the audience. Who can forget Robin Sparkles, the Canadian teen pop sensation who sang about the mall and How I Met Your Mother? Or in the earlier sitcom I Love Lucy, how Lucy would always try to be a part of Ricky's shows despite the fact that she couldn't sing. These jokes are not just to make us laugh, however. They serve the purpose of being an inside joke for the audience to make them feel as if they're a part of the show. But perhaps the most important characteristic, and the reason that sitcoms can capture the audience in ways that shows like soap operas and dramas cannot, is because sitcoms are about ordinary people, like you and me, just living their lives. Take The Office, for example. It's a show about normal coworkers working at the Dunder Mifflin Paper Company, yet their everyday lives have made millions of people laugh. According to the article Why Sitcoms Matter, published in the America magazine, sitcoms can become a part of our lives in a way that even a quality show like Mad Men does not. Mad Men isn't really ours because it's not our story. Rather, it shows us who we want to be and what we are not. The sitcom is ours because it comes closer to showing us who we are. Sitcoms are purely a reflection of our own lives, which is why throughout the years we have been able to laugh and relate to them. Now let's change the channel and see how sitcoms have evolved throughout the decades. Sitcoms first gained popularity on television in the 1940s and 50s. From the start, they clearly depicted the ideal American lifestyle, selling the American dream. Sitcoms during this time usually portrayed a nuclear family sat within the home. They usually featured a father who worked and a mother who stayed at home to take care of the kids. Shows like this, including Leave It to Beaver, Father Knows Best, and The Goldbergs, are commonly known as idealist sitcoms. In Leave It to Beaver, the dad, Ward Cleaver, would come home from work just in time for dinner, where the mom, June, would be wearing her dress and her pearls, cooking and cleaning, and teaching her children valuable lessons, because this was the American dream. However, in the 1960s, the idea of escaping the harsher reality, or escapism, escalated when the Vietnam War and other political conflicts were in full force. One fan favorite is Gilligan's Island, where a group of 7 castaways are stuck on an uncharted island, and despite their best and somewhat ridiculous efforts, cannot seem to find a way to get off of it. A September 2014 article from the National Public Radio said that when it debuted in 1965, America was deep into a decade filled with social unrest and uncertainty about the future, just a few years past the Cuban Missile Crisis and President John F. Kennedy's assassination. So what better way to take people's minds off of civil rights marches and war overseas than a goofy comedy? And to families back then, there was no better way. The most recent evolution of sitcoms are the realist sitcoms. These shows represent what life in America is really like. ABC's Modern Family features a large extended family. Included is an older man with his much younger Colombian wife and her son. He has a grown daughter with an average American family with 3 kids and a gay son who is in a committed relationship with an adopted child from Vietnam. Modern Family is a realist sitcom because it clearly reflects our own society, where families like this really do exist. Other realist sitcoms include The Middle and Community. Now that you know how sitcoms have changed over the years, let's see how they go beyond the screen of your television by how they influence society. According to the book TV's Greatest Sitcoms by Steven Winsenberg, we hum the theme songs, repeat the funny phrases, and even copy the behavior of our living room friends. Although sitcoms have impacted us in much larger respects, we cannot forget to acknowledge the little ways that they impact us every day. For example, the sitcom Friends brought us a haircut called the Rachel and the catchphrase, "How you doin'?" But it also introduced us to one of the first shows to feature young people being independent, without the guidance of their parents, like in previous sitcoms that focus on families. Another very influential sitcom was The Mary Tyler Moore Show. This reflected the nation's changing attitudes towards women. It first aired in the 70s when feminist organizations such as the National Organization for Women and the Coalition of Labor Union Women encouraged them to enter the workforce. Mary Tyler Moore was a single woman who was very focused on her career. According to an article in The Atlantic, this was one of the first shows to feature a woman working outside of the home, and it inspired many other American women to join the workforce who saw Mary as a role model. One controversial event that occurred in the 90s had a huge influence on societal attitudes towards homosexuality. On a sitcom called Ellen DeGeneres came out as being gay in a 1997 episode, when, during the time, no other show would even consider. Although she was condemned by religious organizations, Ellen sparked a major cultural change. She was even on the cover of Time magazine that year. Even bigger than that is that coming out as gay did not ruin her career in the long run. She now has her own talk show, has hosted the Emmys, the Oscars, and is a spokeswoman for JCPenney and CoverGirl. This brave move laid the groundwork for future sitcoms such as Will and Grace to feature gay main characters, and has helped spur open conversation in society at large on gay rights. In an era where technology may seem to disconnect us all from one another, and where the dinner table may no longer be the place where families gather, somehow sitcoms still have the magic to bring us together. You may not be watching reruns of Seinfeld with your parents like me, but somehow when the TV turns on for How I Met Your Mother, Parks and Rec, or even reruns of Full House, everyone seems to find themselves on the couch laughing, smiling, and maybe even learning a little something about ourselves.
Next up, we have Brendan Tiltz, who is a freshman who won 6th place in the category of Extemporaneous 9-10. Just like some of the other 9-10 categories, this category has only 9th and 10th grade competitors. In Extemp, competitors are given a question addressing current events and have only 30 minutes to put together a speech with credible sources that answer the question. So it's a pretty difficult category, and Brendan does a great job.
Oil and natural gas have basically governed our everyday ways of life. We use cars to get everywhere. It powers our home. However, the means of which we get these natural resources may not be so environmentally friendly. When asked the question today, should Michigan take steps to limit its fracking of natural gas and oil? The obvious answer here is yes, because of 2 big environmental factors that it poses, and the easy solutions of which we could limit these and get new resources. We will first look at how it pollutes and toxifies the air. We will then take a look at how the land and water of these areas around these resources are very polluted because of the fact that it's bad for the environment. And lastly, we must take a look at renewable energy and how the means and the prices of which we use it are much lower than fracking. But first, we must take a look at how it toxifies the air to clearly see why we need to limit its use. In fact, according to NRDC, or the Natural Resources Defense Council, the air near fracking sites is found to be extremely toxic because of the chemicals that are released when fracking. In fact, it is so toxic, according to the same article, the smog around these areas are thicker than the smog in LA. So not only is it toxic, but it's so thick, according to a study done by Cornell University on March 7th, 2015, birds that fly into this smog can die within an hour of breathing in the air. It's so toxic, it has the capability of killing birds within an hour. This is extremely upsetting because of the fact that fracking governs our everyday lives. It powers our homes, but when we're using this power, we're using natural resources that can kill birds. Not only does it do that, but it can also toxify the land and water around it as well. In a study done by Yale University on November 14th, 2014, mixing water with other chemicals plus sulfur is blasted into a hole at high energy. In doing so, we need to understand that these chemicals can seep into the ground around it. This means that when we are taking out these natural resources, we are also polluting the ground. When doing this, according to the same study, the chemicals, when they seep into the ground, can get into the water in these natural watersheds. This means that these rivers and the lakes around, in these natural watersheds start to get polluted gradually over time. In fact, according to the same article, it can kill fish in these rivers and natural watersheds in half the time it takes to kill a bird. We are killing these animals in their natural habitats. According to a study done by CNN on March 4th, 2015. Not only does it pollute the water, but it can also kill off plants around the fracking site. This means that these plants and these animals are both being harmed at very high rates because of how toxic these chemicals are. We are killing off plants and animals in their natural habitats. This is a major reason why we need to reduce fracking in natural watersheds of Michigan. Last but not least, we need to look at the easy solutions of which we can go around fracking. Renewable energy is the answer. According to George Bernard Shaw, those who cannot change their minds cannot change anything. This is extremely important when we look at this because we need to understand that humans are so used to their everyday lives. They're so used to getting in their gas-powered cars. They are so used to having energy such as coal and natural gas power their homes that they're very unlikely to accept change, even when it's right in front of them. According to the New York Times, wind and solar energy are the two most used natural and renewable energies in the world. Not only that, but according to the same article, wind costs 1.4 cents per kilowatt hour to produce. However, coal costs 6.6 cents to produce per kilowatt hour. Wind is much cheaper than coal. However, it's much less used. It is said that wind is used in 14% of the time more than coal is used. 86% is how much coal is being used over wind. However, it's more expensive. Our minds are very unwilling to change. However, it's right in front of us. Not only that, but solar energy costs 6.4 cents per kilowatt hour to produce, and natural gas costs 6.1 cents. Two of the most used renewable energies cost less than renewable energies that are being used 86% the time more than these renewable energies. It's right in front of us. We need to accept that we need to change. However, we're not doing it because our minds are unwilling to change. It's right in front of us. It's an easy solution, and not only is it more easy, but it costs much less. It's right in front of us, and we need to accept it. So today, when asked the question, should Michigan take steps to limit oil and natural gas fracking in natural watersheds in Michigan, we looked at three main facets of analysis to why it should. We first took a look at air and how fracking natural gas and oil toxifies the air at such high rates that it produces smog thicker than downtown Los Angeles. We then took a look at how natural fracking of natural gas and oil toxifies the land and water when the natural resources are being derived from the ground. And last but not least, we took a look at the easy solutions to fracking, renewable energy. We saw that not only is it cheaper, but it's less used. George Bernard Shaw once said, those who cannot accept change and change their minds will never be able to accept change. Natural fracking hurts our environment, yet it's still not used. It needs to be limited. Thank you.
Up next, we have another sophomore, Alana Weberman. Alana Weberman, who competed in the category of Poetry 910, won second place in the state tournament. In 910 categories, competitors can only be in 9th or 10th grade. Alana will be performing a compilation of poems that discuss the importance of personal communication and the effects of technology on human interaction.
In case you hadn't realized, it has somehow become uncool to sound like you know what you're talking about, or believe strongly in what you're, saying. Invisible question marks and parenthetical you-knows and you know what I'm saying have been attaching themselves to the ends of our sentences, even when those sentences aren't, questions. Declarative sentences. So-called because they used to, declare things to be true, okay? As opposed to other things that are, totally, not. They've been infected by this tragically cool and totally hip interrogative tone. As if I'm saying, don't think I'm a nerd just because I, noticed this, okay? I have nothing personally invested in my own opinions. I'm just, inviting you to join me on the bandwagon of my own uncertainty. What has happened to our conviction? In the poems Totally Like Whatever You Know by Taylor Momley, Touchscreen by Marshall Davis Jones, and Can We Autocorrect Humanity by Prince E. These three poets capture the essence and lost art of communication. What has happened to our conviction? Where are the limbs out on which we once walked? Have they been, chopped down with the rest of the rainforest? Or do we have, nothing left to say to each other? Has society just become so filled with these conflicted feelings of, bleh, that we've just gotten to the point where we're the most aggressively inarticulate generation to come along since, a long time ago. So I implore you, I challenge you, and I entreat you to speak with conviction, to say what you believe in a manner that bespeaks the determination with which you believe it. Because contrary to the wisdom of the bumper sticker, it is not enough these days to simply question authority. You've got to speak with it, too. Introducing the new Apple iPerson, complete with multi-touch and volume control. Doesn't it feel good to touch? Doesn't it feel good to touch? Doesn't it feel good to touch? My world is so digital that I've forgotten what that feels like. It used to be hard to connect when friends form cliques, but it's even more difficult to connect now that cliques form friends. But who am I to judge? I face Facebook more than books face me, hoping to book face-to-faces. I update my status to prove that I'm still breathing. Failure to do this daily means my whole wide world will forget that I exist. But with 3,000 friends online, only 5 I can count in real life. Why wouldn't I spend more time in a world where there are more people that like me? Wouldn't you? From the Garden of Eden to the branches of Macintosh, apple picking has always come at a great cost. iPod, iMac, iPhone, iChat, I can do all these things without making eye contact. I can't hear the sound of Mother Nature speaking over all this tweeting. And along with it is our ability to feel as it's fleeting. You would think these headphone jacks inject in the flesh the way we connect so we can disconnect. But
We're powerless like e-pills, so we e-trade, email, emotion, like e-commerce. Because now, money can buy love for $9.95 a month. So when my phone goes off at my hip, I touch, and I touch. Because doesn't it feel good to touch? In a world, there are voices that are only read, and laughter is never heard. I'm so desperate to feel. But I hope the technology can reverse the universe so that the screens can touch me back, and maybe they will. And our technology is advanced enough to make us human. Now, let me express first, Mr. Zuckerberg, not to be rude, but you should reclassify Facebook to what it really is, an anti-social network. Did you know the average person spends about 4 years of his life looking down at his cell phone? Kind of ironic how these touch screens can make us lose touch. See, technology has made us more selfish and separate than ever, because now friendships are more broken than the screens on our very phones. We sit at home on our computers, measuring self-worth by numbers of followers and likes. It seems we'd rather write an angry post than talk to those who actually love us. The other day, I asked a friend, let's meet up face to face, and he said, all right, what time do you want to Skype? I mean, this is a generation of media overstimulation. Chats have been reduced to snaps. The news is 140 characters, videos are 6 seconds. So now you wonder why ADD is on the rise faster than 4G LTE. But studies show the attention span of the average adult today is a second lower than that of a goldfish. So if you're one of the aquatic animals or humans who have yet to tune out this performance, congratulations. Let me finish by saying you do have a choice, but we cannot autocorrect. We must do it ourselves. Take control or be controlled. Make a decision. No longer do I want to spoil a precious moment by recording it with a phone. I'm just gonna keep. Call me crazy, but I imagine a world where we smile even when we have low batteries. Because that'll mean we'll be one bar closer to humanity.
Okay, up next, we will see one of our 2 multiples, Ghost, featuring freshmen Mia Morelli and Max Trumba, juniors Zoe Gert and Ryan Waldman, seniors Charlie Cannell, Shelby Junie, and Elise Patton, and directors Shelby Junie and Zoe Gert. Keep in mind that in this category, competitors cannot touch or look at each other, and please welcome Ghost.
Here shadows lay. Listen, give me your goddamn wallet! Into the light. Ghost.
Music and lyrics by Dave Stewart and Glenn Ballard.
Book by Bruce Joel Rubin.
Guys, it's getting pretty late. I gotta go.
You're not gonna come to dinner with us?
Nah.
Well, we're getting Chinese.
No thanks. I got a ton of stuff to do at home.
All right, well, take it easy. Hey, see you at work tomorrow.
All right, boss. Same time, same day.
See you, Carl.
See you, Ma.
Did you see Carl today? His eyes were all over you.
Sam, what? He wasn't even looking at me. It's you he idolizes. You're worried, aren't you? About us moving in together?
Of course not.
You know I love you. I really love you.
Ditto.
Sam.
What?
Why do you do that?
Do what?
Do you love me, Sam?
Well, what do you think?
Well, you never say it.
What are you talking about, Molly? I say it all the time.
No, you don't. You just say ditto.
Molly, people say I love you all the time. It doesn't mean anything.
Just forget it.
Oh,
Sam.
Molly.
It's not gonna work.
My darling, I've hungered for your touch. Hey, you! Yeah, I'm talking to you!
Sam, what's the cut?
Let me hand over your wallet now!
Sam!
Just take my money, okay? Leave my wallet, all right?
Sam!
Shut up! Give me your goddamn wallet! Hey! Get back here! Molly, you all right?
Sam, there is no
Molly, I'm right here.
Sam, talk to me! Say something! There is no Here
I can't be dead.
Somebody! Anybody! Help us! Don't leave me, Sam. I need you.
Hello? Can someone help me? Please? Hello? Can anybody hear me? What the hell is going on?
You know they can't hear you. You're new, huh? I can tell.
Are you talking to me?
Relax. It ain't like before, you know. It's a whole new ball of wax.
Who are you?
I'm the hospital ghost.
Where am I? Where's Molly?
Let me tell you a secret. You're a ghost, like me. Everything's different now that you're in this light. You'll catch on.
No, this is not happening. I am not dead.
You look dead to me.
I'm too young to die.
That's what everyone says.
But I'm not ready. I was not ready.
Who's ready? Nobody's ready.
I picked up your shirts this morning. I don't know why I started to cry. All this wishful thinking gets me nowhere. I can't stay. You took my heart with you. I think about you every minute like you're still here. I can feel you.
I am here, Mom. I am.
You know she can't hear you.
I miss you so much, Sam.
Found his wallet upstairs, but she came home. Give me a few days.
Found what? What are you doing here? Don't touch Molly.
Who's that? Who's he talking to?
We don't have a few days. I need those codes to get into the computer. You're just supposed to steal his wallet, not kill the guy.
Man, what the hell is wrong with you? I told you. She walked in when I was there. How can I get it? Look, I'll go back tomorrow, okay?
No, you stay away from her, do you hear me? You stay away from her! Oh God, help me.
I can help. I know just the place where you need to go.
Dim, 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 dim.
Are you a believer? Are you ready? Are you ready to believe? Are you ready? Tell me, are you ready? Are you a receiver? Are you ready? Are you ready to receive? Are you ready? Tell me, are you ready?
Rosa Santiago!
Right here, then, $20. Oh, see?
Grant us the gifts of your unseen presence!
Lift us up with your loneliness.
Our sister will be with you shortly.
Oh, are you ready? I think I'm ready.
Appear for us now!
Mr. Santiago, I'm old man Brown. I need help. Bring your loved ones down. Please be seated. Buenos dias. I understand you hope to contact a loved one today, am I correct? Yes. Is it a woman? No. Is it a man? Yes. I knew it. She knew it.
Oh my God, you have to be kidding me.
What?
What?
It is my husband. Oh, Julio. And did Julio know someone who's passed on? Someone named Anna, Angelita, Bonita, Chiquita, Delfina, Consuela, Maria. See, his mama. She's ready. You see, he's with his mama. Hallelujah. Something's coming through me, y'all. I feel something. Sisters, it's getting closer.
Yeah, sure, lady.
Who's there?
Who are you talking to?
Keep him away.
I don't believe this. Hey, my name is Sam Wheat. Can you hear me?
Who to me? Talk to me. Say something. Are you okay? Are you what? You sound white. You white, ain't you?
What? My name is Sam Wheat, and I who's what?
Sam Wheat. Oh God, I knew it. You're a white guy. And you're dead, right? Sam Wheat.
Yeah, of course I'm dead. Listen to me.
Listen to you? Do I have a choice? Oh Lord, I swear no more cheating. I don't want to go to hell. Just please make him go away.
Go away. Hell no. You're going to help me. Listen, there's a woman. Her name is Molly Jensen, and she's in terrible danger. You have to warn her.
And what makes you think she's going to listen to me?
Because you're all I've got. Look, I'm not leaving until you help me. I don't care how long it takes. I could stay here all night. I could sing forever.
Sing? What the hell do you mean sing?
On
Get away from me! Leave me alone! Get out of my head! You're driving me crazy!
I got married to the widow next door, and she's been married 7 times before. Second verse. Same as the verse.
Okay, fine, I will help you. Are you ready? Tell me, are you ready? Molly, I'm Old Brown, second reader and advisor. I got a message from Sam. He wants to talk to you.
Ask her about the starfish at Montego Bay.
He wants me to ask you about the starfish at Montego Bay. Now, how would I know that? Hey, Molly, girl! I told you.
No, wait, please. Just another minute.
Who are you? Molly, I'm Old Brown, second reader and advisor.
What do you want? Is this some kind of joke?
Girl, if you think I would come all the way down to Brooklyn for the hell of it, you out of your mind. I mean, I'm sorry, but this Sam of yours, you ever hear the whole song Henry VIII I Am?
That's how he got me to go out with him.
It's a horrible song, Sam. God off.
You're talking to him now? I'm sorry, I don't believe in these things. I don't believe in this life after death stuff.
God, I love her. I love her so much.
He says he loves me.
Sam would never say that. Leave me alone.
Ditto, tell her ditto.
Ditto. What's that mean? Ditto.
Maybe you should come in.
How could you believe some fortune teller woman from Spanish Harlem who shows up at your door?
I sat there and watched. She was talking to him.
I don't buy it, Mom, not for a minute.
Carl, she knew things. I know they were true. But Sam knows who killed him, that he was set up, murdered.
Hey, this is getting deranged. We're going off the deep end
She
here.
had a name and address, a complete ID.
Oh, good.
Lily Lopez, 321 Pasek Place, apartment 4D. She said Sam was going to the police.
Hey, the police? Molly, what are you gonna tell them? Some storefront psychic's been getting messages from the dead?
Oh, I know. I know it sounds crazy, but you just gotta trust her.
Look, this woman is a joke. You've gotta let go. Look, if it makes you feel any better, I'll go check it out tomorrow, okay?
Really, Carl, I appreciate that. Thank you.
I'll call you tomorrow, okay?
Be careful, Carl. This guy's dangerous.
Hey! Who have you been talking to?
Talking to? What the hell do you mean?
Some fortune teller woman knows all about everything. She knows your name, goddammit. She knows where you live.
A lot of women know where I live.
This isn't a joke, man. She knows about the money.
Carl, and said a word to nobody.
I want you to find this lady, whoever she is, and you just get rid of her, okay? I've got $4 million stuck in that goddamn computer. Give me Sam's key. I don't know his code. If the money's not transferred soon, I'm dead. We're both dead. You don't screw with them, man. They'll take us down like that. These are some big drug dealers.
You took all I had.
What is wrong with you? Is everything a joke? You killed a man. I mean, what the hell didn't you understand, Willie? You were supposed to steal his wallet. You killed a man.
Hey, man, I did you a favor. That was a freebie.
If there's anything more I can do, I'll do it. Find my way back to you. Suspend my disbelief.
Hey, it's Carl. I got the code. We're fine. Everything's fine. Just tell me what you want me to do. Okay, transfer the money into a single account under the name Rita Miller, account number 926-31043. Is that right? Yeah, I'm on it.
Oratory, just go inside. I promise after this, I'll never bother you again.
Sam, I am not stepping foot in that bank.
Oh, I'm Henry.
Oh, not this
Hey,
again.
oh, yeah.
This is crazy. It ain't gonna work. I don't know nothing about banking.
See where it says new accounts? That's where you're going. Just do what I say.
Why you whisper?
Just do what I say.
Can I help you?
Just act natural.
Rita Miller.
I'll just need some identification.
Of course.
So what brings you here today?
Closing an account.
I'm closing an account.
Well, Miss Miller, you'll be withdrawing $4 million.
$4 million! I mean, $4 million. Yes, that is correct.
And how would you like that?
10 to 20.
No, the cashier's check.
I mean, the cashier's check, of course.
I'll just need your signature right here, Miss Miller.
Just sign Rita Miller and say goodbye. No, not your real name.
I'm sorry. It seems that I have signed the wrong name. Oratory Brown, who the hell is that? Can I have a new one, please?
Sure.
I've got a pleasure doing business with you. Can I keep the pen or I won't keep the pen?
Rita Miller, number 926-31043, account closed. Balance $0.
Carl, what's wrong? Is everything okay?
Is this a joke? One of my accounts is closed.
Oh, search, you bastard. You'll ever find it. It's gone. They'll kill you for this, Carl. You and Willie. They'll wipe you off the face of the earth.
Molly, can I come in? I need to talk to you.
Well, Carl had a little trouble at the office, huh?
I'm all right.
He needs to borrow $4 million.
You're right there.
Sam, I know you're there. Mess with me again, and I'll set her on fire. I mean it. I'll kill her. If I don't get that money, Molly's dead.
Carl, what's going on?
Ma, I'm sorry about last night. This supernatural stuff just makes me so uncomfortable.
Don't worry, it's okay.
I want you to know that I'm here for you. I care about you.
You only care about yourself.
I know, Carl. It's just
When life turns on a dime, Mom, people think they'll always have tomorrow, but it's not true. Sam taught us that. We have to live for now, for today.
No!
Sorry, I can't. It's too soon. I need you to leave.
Hurry up, y'all. We got a lot of people waiting.
Louise, I'm out of Red Bull. I need a refill.
Another one?
Mm-hmm. Make it quick, Louise. Not like last time.
Mire, pasa. What can I do for you, girl?
Estoy aquí sobre mi hermano.
What?
I'll go this way. Hey, Carl, over here.
Estoy aquí sobre
Hold
mi
it.
hermano.
Hold on, girl. Sam, I am in the middle of a reading. And besides, we are not on speaking terms right now.
What? Why?
Because you would not let me keep the $4 million. I could have bought a boat.
Are you the fortune teller?
Who are you?
You're the psychic, you tell me.
Listen, I don't know who you think you
Willie!
are. Willie Lopez?
How would you know that? Who did that? Who's there? Boo.
Sam, what the hell is going on?
We don't have much time. We have to get to Molly before Carl does.
You making me go to Brooklyn again?
Was that you?
Molly, it's Oda May. Is everything okay? No, you in danger, girl. Sam's death was no accident. He was murdered. Carl used Sam's coat to steal money from the bank. He's dangerous. He tried to kill me.
He'll kill you too. Was Carl all along?
Molly, open up. It's me.
It's Carl.
Get out of here. Molly, I know you're in there. Don't make me do this.
Come on.
You.
Help us, Sam.
I want the check. Just give me the check. Where is it?
I gave it away.
You're lying. Don't lie to me.
Carl!
What are you doing? What have you done?
Where's the money, Molly? I'll kill you. I swear I'll kill both of you.
Run!
Please, Sam. I didn't mean for Willie to kill you. Just give me the check, and I'll let everyone go, and no one gets hurt. Just give me the check. Sam. Sam.
He's not breathing. Holy mother.
No. No, I can't be dead. What's happening to me? What's that noise?
Are you two alright?
Mm-hmm.
Sam?
Molly?
Sam, is that you?
Oh, Mom. I've missed you so much.
I can hear you, Sam. I can see you.
I can't stay any longer.
They're waiting for you, Sam.
I know. Thank you, Oda May, for everything. I'll miss you.
I'm gonna miss you too. I mean, you all right for a white guy.
I don't know what's really more, and even though I start to think things could be like before, every time I think I'm going to sink, going down, 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 down. Golly, I love you. I've always loved you.
Ditto.
Imagine you're a working mother with a family of 5. After a long day, you have to pick up Johnny from soccer practice and drive Susie to her dance class. Billy is throwing a fit because he can't find his favorite toy. But you promised yourself that you would make dinner this week and stop getting carry-out every night. Tonight, you'll make a vegetable tart with chickpea crust. Tomorrow, eggplant parmesan lasagna. The next night, you'll make, wait, slow down a minute. How will you shop for all of the ingredients to make these delectable meals? If only they could magically appear on your kitchen counter. Well, thanks to Door-to-Door Organics, they can. Door-to-Door Organics is an online grocery retailer that partners with Michigan farmers to bring fresh, organic produce and natural groceries right to your doorstep. You do have to carry the box from your porch to your kitchen, but door-to-door service is about as convenient as it gets. As the company says themselves, forget the store, just open the door. So, let's uproot the history of this farm fresh phenomenon, fertilize the features and benefits of their service, plow through the competition, and reap Door-to-Door's commitment to their communities and the environment. Every garden starts with just one small seed, and for Door-to-Door Organics, that seed was planted in Boulder, Colorado in 2004, when David Gersonson founded the company in his 300-square-foot garage. In 2007, Gersonson moved to the Mitten, spreading his crop to Michigan. The company continued sprouting as they harvested the launch of the Door-to-Door Organics Kitchen, the first shop-by-recipe platform in the country. Today, the company works with over 200 farmers and services 9 states, with plans to add 3 more states this year. With this expansion, Door-to-Door has remained rooted to their mission of providing households with good food that is good for your health, good for your community, and good for the environment. What started as one produce box has flourished into an extensive company that keeps food the way it should be: affordable, convenient, and inspiring. The heart of the Door-to-Door experience is the box of Michigan produce that will arrive at your front door every week on the day of your choosing. Customers can select from a bitty, small, medium, or large-size box. Whether you're a lone chef, a roommate, or providing for a family of fruit and veggie lovers, Door-to-Door Organics has a box size perfect for you. Have any food allergies, dietary restrictions, or just a picky eater? No problem. You are encouraged to make up to 5 substitutions to your weekly produce box in order to best fit your needs. In addition to produce, Door-to-Door offers you the added convenience of purchasing any other groceries you need. Browse through the plentiful pickings of the freshest meat and fish, dairy items, bakery and bread products, deli food, beverages, and pantry items that range from salad dressings to snacks. One-stop shopping at its finest. And if you're someone who just simply can't find your way around the kitchen, Door-to-Door will do the thinking for you. Simply click on one of their delicious recipes and all of the ingredients will arrive at your front door. Shopping with the Door-to-Door Organics kitchen eliminates forgotten ingredients or last-minute grocery store runs, allowing your meals to be hassle-free and delicious every time. With flexible frequency and, of course, free delivery, Door-to-Door really has the grocery shopping experience in the bag. Or should I say, in the box. As the saying goes, if you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen. That's why Door-to-Door has planted itself in kitchens across America, while its competitors have moved to the back burner. Door-to-Door Organics offers a variety of services, from farm-fresh produce to online grocery shopping and even convenient meal planning. When comparing the meal planning services of Door-to-Door to competitor HelloFresh, HelloFresh barely simmers. In terms of quality, HelloFresh prides itself on delivering ready-to-cook, farm-fresh ingredients. But with pre-portioned ingredients sealed in plastic, HelloFresh said bye-bye fresh back in their factory. Unlike Door-to-Door Organics items, which are brought to you in their unaltered organic state. In addition, with HelloFresh, consumers are limited to the company's predetermined menu for the week. If you don't like the meals that are offered, you're simply out of luck. But with Door-to-Door's extensive recipe database, you can select the meals that are tingling your taste buds. In addition to limited flexibility, HelloFresh restricts quantity as well. While Door-to-Door Organics offers 4 different box sizes, HelloFresh only offers 2. Not only does Door-to-Door Organics plow through its meal planning competitors, but also the traditional grocery shopping experience. Let's compare the preparation of a popular dinner recipe: lemon chicken. As a Door-to-Door Organics shopper, you simply sit down at your computer or pull out your smartphone and your ingredients are on their way. The traditional grocery shopping experience, however, is a bit more hectic. After leaving the comfort of your home, you have to drive to the store, brave the crowded parking lot, navigate the aisles to find your desired items, if they're even in stock, avoid buying unnecessary junk food that pops out at you, wait in the checkout line, lug the bags to your car, into your house, and finally, unpack the countless items that you were not planning on buying. If you ask me, this sounds more like a recipe for one big headache. And taking a look at the main ingredients for our lemon chicken, Door-to-Door's chicken breast comes out at $7.99 per pound. Lemons for $1.29, parsley for $1.99, and a jar of capers for $3.79. I took a trip to my local grocery store and found that Door-to-Door's prices were the same, if not less than those in stores, all with the convenience of a few clicks. With Door-to-Door Organics, you don't have to break the bank to get quality and convenience every time. Door-to-Door Organics cares about more than healthy bodies and happy households. They care about supporting their communities and the environment as well. When your delicious, nutritious groceries arrive at your doorstep, they are housed in a 100% recyclable box. Customers are encouraged to leave their empty boxes and cooling packs outside on delivery day so that everything can be reused or recycled in the best way possible. With their cutting-edge technology, Door-to-Door determines the most fuel and time-efficient routes for their delivery trucks, reducing the number of vehicles on the road. Door-to-Door also partners with local farmers who use USDA-certified organic practices that are healthier for animals, humans, the soil, and reduce carbon emissions. Finally, Door-to-Door cares about the mitten just as much as we do. In just 1 year, they donated 26,000 pounds of produce to food banks right here in Michigan, and you have the opportunity to give back too. By starting a fundraising co-op, simply select from a list of nonprofits, and at the end of each month, the organization receives a check for 10% of box sales. Thus, the more members in your co-op leads to more boxes bought, more healthy organic food in the kitchens of your community, and more money given to the organizations that you hold close to your heart. Door-to-door organics has clearly revolutionized the grocery shopping experience and is the #1 solution to healthy bodies, happy households, and a greener world. So forget the hectic grocery store hassle. Forget that last-minute dinner rush. Allow natural, organic goodness to come to you. Forget the store. Just open the door.
So up first, we have Tess Garcia. She is a junior who is a state semifinalist in the category of Impromptu, a limited preparation category. Tess is given a quote, and she has just 1 minute to prepare a speech analyzing the meaning of the quote, using any examples she can think of on the spot to support it. So here is Tess.
Anybody who has ever played a sport knows that the worst part is practicing. The number of times I've faked asthma and told my coach that I needed to go get my inhaler just because I don't want to suffer through running suicides is innumerable. I've realized, though, that persistence is what's key to being successful in actual games. This practice that I may hate is what actually breeds champions. We can see this message in today's quotation by Muhammad Ali, which says, "I hated every minute of training, but I said, don't quit. Suffer now and live the rest of your life as a champion." Ali is telling us today exactly what I needed to learn in lacrosse, that persistence breeds success. And we can discuss this idea of persistence in a few ideas today. First, we can look at the current economic state of Greece. Next, we can look at a children's book called The Little Engine That Could. And lastly, we'll discuss the life of an American named Kanye West and the new project he's recently taken up. First of all, though, when discussing Greece's economy at the moment, it's important to note that they have been in a state of bankruptcy for the last 2 decades, landing them in a place where they have been receiving loans from the European Union for years. And in exchange for these loans, the European Union has asked them to undergo austerity measures, or measures that have hit their economy hard, such as cutting jobs, leaving people impoverished throughout the entire country. This is Greece realizing that they may hate every single minute of receiving these loans due to the austerity measures that they've had to undergo, but that these loans are necessary to build up their country's infrastructure, and in order for them to escape the bankruptcy they've been in for so long. They've realized as a government that in order to be a successful country in the long run, they need to undergo these measures right now. And even though it may seem tough right now, all they can do is continue to power through these measures so they can avoid bankruptcy and escape it in the end. So next, if we look at The Little Engine That Could, we can see that it's an example of this in a bit of a more understandable context for everyone in the world. The Little Engine That Could is about a little blue train who decides to go up a hill and has trouble throughout this. He constantly says, though, I think I can, and realizes, even in a children's book, that persistence is the key to actually doing something properly and being successful. And as he continued to push through and go over the hill, the little engine that could eventually said, I know I can, and was able to power through, being as persistent as he possibly could, undergoing the suffering of actually getting up the hill for the sake of completing the journey. This shows us today that sometimes success is a journey that we have to strive toward, and we have to undergo a lot of pain to get to. However, this is worth it in the end, because persistence is truly what ends up breeding success. Now lastly, if we look at the life of Kanye West, we can see how some recent actions he's taken, particularly those in 2009, have been able to shape his fashion enterprise as something more successful than he ever would have dreamed. In 2009, Kanye West flew to Paris with a few of his friends to intern at a fashion house called Fendi. Though this is little known to the general public, Kanye West toiled day in and day out for that entire year, taking a break from music in order to build up his knowledge of the fashion industry, because he knew that being persistent and learning as much as he possibly could would be what would breed a success in a new industry. This is what eventually led to Kanye West's debut this past February Fashion Week in New York City, as he received several wonderful reviews, even from the New York Times, who previously scrutinized him for even thinking about delving into the fashion industry. Kanye West realized that persistence and everything that he went through at Fendi in Paris was what bred the success in him that he eventually reached. And so if we look back at today's quotation by Muhammad Ali, I hated every minute of training, but I said, don't quit. Suffer now and live the rest of your life as a champion. We can see how even I have realized through running during practice that persistence is truly what breeds our success. And we cannot expect to be champions if we are not willing to suffer, at least a little bit, on the way there. And we discussed this today through a few individual facets of analysis. We first looked at how Greece has to undergo austerity measures in order to propel their economy forward. Next, we looked at how the little engine that could had to suffer in order to get over that one big hill. And lastly, we discussed how Kanye West, a popular musician, has been able to revolutionize the fashion industry simply because he felt it was necessary to undergo training and to learn and to persist in order to be successful. Thank you.
Performing now will be senior Jenna Weberman. Jenna won 6th place at the state tournament. She is in the category of sales, where she writes and performs a speech to motivate the purchase of a product or service while also using visual aids. This year, Jenna sold products from the company Yasso.
Do you enjoy running, swimming, throwing a football, or just taking a walk? Everyone knows that exercise is vital to a healthy lifestyle. I like to shape up through yoga. When I leave, I feel fit, strong, and hungry. Nothing tops off the perfect workout like the perfect treat. A frozen bar sounds amazing, but I'm working on my fitness, and dessert can't be healthy, right? Well, now it can. I open the freezer, and to my disbelief, sitting right in front of me is an 80-calorie, high-protein, all-natural creamy treat. Meet Yasso, the first ever frozen Greek yogurt bar, a treat that makes your belly happy and your body healthy. When I rip open the wrapper, I get to indulge in a world of shameless goodness. Now that's how health should taste. So let's take a bite into flavorful fitness as we bulk up on the history of this mouth-watering snack, work out a taste of the products that make this new company special, shape up as we beat out the competition, and feel good about our food as we explore how Yasso gives back to the community. Prior to Yasso, options in frozen treats were limited to ice creams or containers of frozen yogurt. Individual bars of frozen Greek yogurt certainly did not exist until 6 years ago, when childhood friends Amanda Klein and Drew Harrington revolutionized the world of frozen treats. As Division I athletes, the duo recognized a need for healthier options in frozen snacking. So, in 2010, they created the first Yasso model. A year later, they shipped out their first order. Soon after, Yasso captured the public's palate with its huge debut on Dr. Oz and The Today Show. This perfect snack only continued to grow, and by 2012, the yogurt was selling coast to coast. Fitness magazine raves that Yasso is the tastiest Greek yogurt yet. Both Men's and Women's Health magazine rate Yasso to be a top 125 must-have healthy snack. Just think, a delicacy as a top snack, which makes it no wonder that Yasso has received so many awards, including Eat Clean 2013's Best Packaged Foods. This new company continues to rise in success and popularity with each customer who takes a bite and falls in love. Very fittingly, the Greek word Yasso can be heard as a toast, literally translating to mean to your health. So now, let's take a run through Yasso's sweet and creamy products. In the mood for a traditional frozen favorite, Yasso creates novelty vanilla bean, chocolate fudge, mint chocolate chip, and sea-salted caramel bars to satisfy your cravings. Or maybe you're looking for chocolate coating. Yasso has got you covered. like their chocolate-covered peanut butter cup and chocolate-covered raspberry. Or go fruity with flavors such as blueberry, coconut, mango, strawberry, or raspberry. Yasso also creates healthy Greek yogurt smoothie options. With 3 fruity flavors to choose from, Yasso will quench your smoothie thirst. With endless melt-in-your-mouth options, it's hard to believe that this dessert could actually be good for you. But the fact is, each Yasso bar is made with pure, all-natural ingredients. No need to worry about your waistline. Yasso bars will keep you slim at only 80 calories per bar. That's the same amount that you'll find in an apple. Also worth mentioning, a vanilla Yasso bar contains 7 grams of protein, the same amount that you'll find in an ounce of fish, 1 large egg, or 25 almonds. And there are even fat-free options to choose from. Each one of these treats is made with RBST-free milk, meaning you will never get the dangerous hormones found in most commercial dairy products. Ready to buy this product right now? Good, because Yasso sells conveniently at your local grocery store in places including Kroger, Costco, or even Target. So purchase a box today and say hello to your new favorite dessert. Freezing the competition, Yasso is undoubtedly the coolest treat on the street. All competitors cash out at about the same price of approximately $1.25 per bar. However, Food Navigator USA recognizes Yasso as the leader in the industry, above competitors Healthy Choice, Yoplait, and Oikos Greek yogurt. Speaking in terms of health, competitors can't take the heat with only 80 calories in each Yasso bar. Healthy snacking isn't so easy for the competition, tipping the scale and nearly doubling the calorie count. When we look at nutrition, Yasso melts its competition, which have only 4 or 6 grams of protein in each bar. Yasso's bars will keep you strong with 7 grams of protein each, over 15% of the USDA daily requirement. But the most important part of a snack is loving its taste. Countless reviews rave about the smooth texture and delicious flavor of Yasso's bars. And with 14 flavors to choose from, it's easy to find one that will match your mood. Other brands keep buyers limited, with only half the number of options to choose from. In any race, Yasso will always outrun its competition, but the benefits don't stop there. When you purchase a box of bars, you can be sure that Yasso will give back to your local community, so you can feel good inside and out. Yasso supports more than 15 national organizations, with favorites like the Wounded Warrior Project, Toys for Tots, and the American Cancer Association. The company is also proud to support many local charities. Whether it's initiating fundraisers or sponsoring an event, Yasso leads the way among charitable food brands. From festivals to marathons and everything in between, Yasso loves to support the local community. On their website, there's a sponsorship request form so that anyone in the US can ask Yasso to host your next community event. This refreshing company helps everyone to enjoy the taste of life just a little bit more. When you purchase a box of bars, you take a step towards better fitness. When I finish my workout, I feel great because of the yoga and because of the yogurt. Yasso allows me to feel healthy, satisfied, and confident that I am cooling off with the perfect treat. So I invite you to share a box with me today and say Yasso to your health.
Following Jenna, we have one of our senior captains, Konstantinos Stavropoulos, who is a state qualifier in the category of storytelling. In this category, competitors perform pieces from children's stories. Konstantina will be giving an interpretive presentation from a cutting of the children's story, Snoring Beauty.
Long, long ago, about 602 years ago, last Friday, at 7 p.m., Fairy Standard Time to be exact, the childless King Gluteus and his wife, Queen Esophagus, got lucky at last. La 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 la, a baby girl, I'll eat to that. The king and queen threw a big wingding for their daughter's christening. They invited every fairy from far and wide. But wouldn't you know it, they left out this one really cranky fairy named Bebo, who was off hosting a garlic festival. On christening day, the baby girl was named Princess Drachmia Lo Fresca Malvolio Margarine. An interesting twist on a timeless tale, Snoring Beauty by Bruce Hale. The dining hall bulged with lords and ladies, and up at the main table sat 7 of the funkiest fairies you'd ever seen. The names Hexus, Blexus, Mastraline, Umbudane, Phlebitis, Tintinitis, and I'm Fred. Now, Fred wasn't really a fairy, but nobody had the heart to tell him. Just as they began a rude round of fairy songs, the king clapped his hands. All right, it is time to bless the baby. Huh? What's that? Said Tintinitis, who was half deaf. Slime with flesh and gravy? No, thank you. One by one, fairies shuffled past to bless Princess Drachmia Lo Fresca Malvolio Margarine. Marge for short. She will be like the most beauteous maiden in the land. She will be the wittiest. Yeah. And on. Best singer, best dancer, nicest penmanship. So sorry, I'm late. There stood Bebo the fairy. She looked like trouble. Oh, and she smelled like garlic. The carrier pigeon must have eaten my invitation. Now, when this babe turns 16, she will be run over by a pie wagon and die. Huh? She'll turn into a dragon and fly? Die! Spy? Die! Huh! And she was gone. Tintinitis turned to King Gluteus and Queen Esophagus. I cannot undo Bebo's gift, but I can bamboozle it. My blessing is that instead of turning into a dead dragon, your daughter will turn into a sleeping dragon, and she will be awakened by a prince. How about a prince? Ah, yes, a quince. Great idea. And she was gone. First thing the next morning, King Gluteus banned all pie wagons from the kingdom, even mud pies. That should stop the curse. Ah, yes, let them eat cake instead. Years hopped along, and Marge blossomed into a beautiful, kind, sweet, and clever young lady. As the fairies promised, Marge could sing like a nightingale, dance like twilight on water, and build a house in a single day. But the fairies forgot just one thing. Marge was too perfect. Nobody wanted to play with a girl who could do everything twice as well as they could. Princess Marge was lonely. On the day of her 16th birthday, a woman in a pie wagon rolled up to the castle. Hey, let me in. I'll bring some yummy-nummy treats for the princess. The guard opened up the gates. Eek! The pie wagon trundled inside. And at that very moment, what are the odds, I ask you? The princess was crossing the road to the bake shop. The road was steep, the wagon started to wobble, and before you knew it, it crunched over her foot. Yow! And just as Tintinitis foretold, Marge turned into a dragon and, whoop, fell to sleep. Now, legend has it that the whole town conked out too. Yeah, right. Here's what really happened. The sleeping dragon princess began to snore. Shoo! And besides being the best cake baker and the best dancer in all the kingdom, Princess Marge was naturally the loudest snoring dragon. Shoo! Did everyone rush to congratulate Marge on her perfect snores? They did not. No one comforted her enchanted sleep. The dragon princess dreamed lonely dreams. Days passed. Nobody could sleep with the racket and ruckus. Those with carriages visited far-off kingdoms, and those without wore earplugs and shouted. Now the king did what kings always do. He made a proclamation. King Glodius wants you to awaken the sleeping dragon princess with a quince. Use of the word quince to be determined by applicant. Reward half the kingdom, the princess's hand in marriage, and a nice set of elf-made garden furniture. Employees of castle not eligible. Men came to test their luck, trying to awaken the sleeping dragon princess. One spooned quince curry between her lips. Shoo! Another tried to tickle her with the leaves of a quince tree. Choo, choo. Tickle, tickle, tickle. Shoo! Months passed. Suitors came and suitors went, but nothing worked. Then, one day, a dusty young man came clip-clopping into town. What is this awful noise? The young man studied the sleeping dragon princess. Ooh, she is pretty cute for a dragon. He leaned in and puckered up. Marge's scales began to melt. Her tail shriveled, and before you knew it, whoa! She shrank back into a human girl again. Whoa! Are you a wizard? No, I'm a prince. Prince Quince, to be exact. Well, the king kept his word. The prince and the princess got hitched. And this time, all the fairies in the land were invited. Prince Quince, do you love me? Of course, with all of my heart. Even though I'm the best at everything? Marge, nobody's perfect. At last, the newlyweds tiptoed off to their chambers where they whispered sweet nothings and drifted off to sleep. And despite the truly royal ruckus, the two lived happily and noisily ever after.
All right, up next we have our one of our senior captains, Rachel Ochner, who is a state qualifier in Impromptu, another limited preparation category. Rachel is given a quote, and she has just 1 minute to prepare a speech analyzing the meaning of the quote, and she can use any examples she can think of on top of her head to support it. So without further ado, here's Rachel.
We'll bring them in.
A few years ago, Andover and Losser became Bloomfield Hills High School. And of course, we all know this because it's near and dear to our hearts. Now, everyone who had already been to either Andover or Losser came into Bloomfield Hills with a lot of expectations. Some people thought that they would make a ton of new friends, where some people thought that there would be a lot of fights in the hallways and it would just all be a big mess. However, I've seen in the past few years that everyone's expectations ended up being their own experiences in this new high school. I personally came in excited to meet new Losser friends, and now I can say that I do have friends from Losser, and it's been a pretty pleasant experience. This goes hand in hand with what Harper Lee is trying to say when she says, people generally see what they look for and hear what they listen for. What we can learn from today's quotation is that our expectations shape our perceptions. And we will look at this ideology through 3 main trains of thought. We will look at the field of psychology, we will look at the Salem witch trials, and even the witch trials in Europe. And lastly, we will look at Harper Lee's novel, To Kill a Mockingbird. In the field of psychology, there are a lot of different people who pioneered the ideas of our expectations versus our perceptions. But perhaps the best example of this is the idea of confirmation bias and illusory correlations. We can see that however we expect something to turn out, or even an experiment, whatever we assume will be the outcome ends up shaping the way that we see the outcome. For example, if a scientist is doing an experiment and they expect that listening to music causes kids to get better grades, then it doesn't matter what the evidence shows. They will, like Harper Lee says, see what they look for and assume that the evidence supports their claim. This is also true when we look at illusory correlations, and we can see that if we don't like someone, then anything they say is just going to make us think that we hate them even more. It doesn't matter if they're saying encouraging and nice words. Whatever we see simply reinforces our past beliefs, and whatever we perceive just goes along with all of our expectations. We can look at a more concrete example when we look at how society treated people that they assumed were witches in not only the 1400s, but also the 1600s in America. We can see that people were being accused of witchcraft all the time, not necessarily because they actually performed witchcraft or acted magical, but simply for mundane reasons. Some women and poor people were even accused of being a witch, just so other, more powerful people could steal the land that they lived on. A lot of people in 1692 in Salem, Massachusetts, were accused of being a witch, but not because there was evidence to convict them, simply because one person pointed their finger and said, "I think that this person is a witch." And what happened? These people were either burned at the stake or thrown into the water to see if they would drown. So this is a great example of an unfortunate consequence of our own expectations. The people of Salem, Massachusetts expected to see a witch, so they were so ready to accept the fact that the random people around them, even like their neighbors, could be a witch. This is what Harper Lee is trying to say, and it's actually a negative effect of our expectations, because if we expect to see a witch, just like everyone in Salem did, then we will accuse people wrongly. And lastly, we can see that Harper Lee captures this idea in her novel, To Kill a Mockingbird, when she talks about the town of Macomb, Alabama, and how all of the white folk in this town had all of these expectations and preconceived notions about African Americans of the 1930s. And there was this one particular man named Tom Robinson, an African American who was accused wrongfully of raping a white girl, and the trial that is portrayed in this novel shows us that even though this man, Tom Robinson, was completely innocent, and even though there was evidence that Atticus Finch presents to prove his innocence, the jury still convicted him, because these white people expected to see a guilty man in front of them. So it didn't matter the evidence that Tom Robinson did not rape Mayella Ewell. The jury still convicted him because they expected that this African American had committed a crime. So, unfortunately, as Harper Lee's trying to say, these people of Macomb, Alabama, let all of their expectations and even their own prototypical assumptions about African Americans, they let that obscure their judgment of what should have been an objective trial. So today, we looked at how the field of psychology, the Salem witch trials, and even the Harper Lee's novel, To Kill a Mockingbird, all show us that Harper Lee is correct when she says people generally see what they look for and hear what they listen for. And we can see this manifested in our own daily lives when we look at Bloomfield Hills High School, and we can see that everyone's expectations about how the school would turn out have truly shaped their own opinions of how the school is working today. Thank you.
And lastly, we have a freshman, Anish Tampani, who was in Extemp 910. He's given a question, and then he has 30 minutes to prepare an answer, and has to do with current events. So here is Anish.
In the words of world-renowned author Gordon B. Hinckley, without hard work, nothing grows but weeds. And what Hinckley is clearly trying to show us is that without putting forth conscious effort to accomplish our daily tasks, we are doing nothing to solve the problems that we face in our lives. And this can be applied to a current situation in the United States. Our current food stamp program is creating many issues, and they must be resolved. This brings up the question, what reforms should be made to the U.S. food stamp program? And upon some analysis, the solution to this problem comes in three independent facets of analysis. First, we will look at how we can centralize this program into one government agency in order to improve efficiency. Next, we will see how we can cut down the amount of time that people are allowed to use food stamps and make it reach its original goal. Finally, we will see how to prevent food stamp fraud. So first, let's look at the current situation with food stamps in terms of efficiency. According to the New York Times on December 12th of 2013, There are 18 separate food assistance programs currently in the United States. And these 18 separate programs means 18 separate groups of workers and 18 separate groups of salaries. All this money that is used in these separate companies can actually be reduced. According to the same article, having a government-controlled food stamp program could reduce costs by $2.7 billion every year. And this is a huge help because not only will this government company be able to stop the waste of money that is currently going on, but the program will be much more efficient in terms of distribution to the general public. In addition, let's take a look at how we can limit the amount of time one is allowed to use food stamps in order to make this program reach its original goal. According to the CNN on December 14th of 2014, 40.8% of people who use food stamps have used them for over 10 years. This is quite alarming because the original intention for food stamps was to help those who were impoverished bounce back up into the middle class. However, this 40.8% of people who are simply living off of food stamps are not doing what this program originally intended. In addition, I propose a 1.5-year limit to the amount of time one is allowed food stamps after being employed. This will limit the amount of money that is used by these people and push them back into the middle class, improving our economy greatly. And there may be more reasons as to why we should not have food stamps, people consuming these food stamps year after year. According to the Huffington Post on January 12th of 2012, a person on food stamps for 1 year is 7 to 8% more likely to have obesity. And all these people who have been on food stamps for 10 plus years, this 7 to 8% is compounded over and over again until it really does not seem feasible to have these people on food stamps for this long a period of time. So not only is this a problem of efficiency, but the amount of time that these people are using food stamps. And this needs to be cut down in order to make this program reach its original goal. Finally, let's take a look at how to limit food stamp fraud and the current issues that are going on. According to the New York Times on July 20th of 2014, New Jersey has 448,000 people on food stamps and 300 investigators. This may seem like a small amount of investigators for all these people, but this is nothing compared to the situation in Massachusetts with 470,000 people on food stamps and 37 investigators. Now, no matter how we look at it, no matter how many computer programs we have to detect all these people trying to use food stamps for fraud, 37 investigators simply won't cut it. We need to implement more of these investigators to ensure that people cannot use food stamps corruptly and make money off of them. In fact, quite the opposite is happening in Texas because, according to the Washington Post on February 14th of 2014, Texas has a $5,000 fraud limit before that person is even allowed to be prosecuted. This is also quite a staggering figure because if a person can have food stamp fraud up to making $5,000 before they can even be faced with any legal opposition, then there is simply a loophole in this legislation. And legislation needs to be changed in order to make this program more beneficial. So today, we've looked at how we can improve food stamps by creating new reforms, not only to condense this program into one government agency that will improve efficiency, but also by reducing the amount of time that people are allowed to use food stamps. Finally, we saw how much fraud happens with food stamps and how we simply need to implement more investigation in order to make this program beneficial to everyone. And when we look at Gordon B. Hinckley's quote, we need to use hard work. We need to do things consciously in order to make this program reach its original goal. And we are simply pulling out the weeds by doing this, as Gordon B. Hinckley would have known. Thank you.